All right, here we are. This is as planned as we get. Jason, Lucas, and myself. We're talking about doing a stream. We were talking about doing a recording and a conversation. This has been. Is this our first Gym Bros TLC OnlyTanks stream?
I think so. Yeah. We've had one other conversation with Lucas, but it wasn't really Jim Bros one. This
Did
is
we? What was that on? Was that on his channel?
yeah, he did a Zoom and then
Oh, okay.
posted it
We don't,
exclusive.
we don't do Zoom.
You know.
Like, if you still use Zoom, you're like an internet boomer. Get on StreamYard.
Yeah. We got
Ridiculous.
to pull him out of his shell, make him more spontaneous.
I do want to show this though. I'm trying to lure in more people for our Gym Bros streams. And look at this. I mean, this is like Zach Parsons posted this of Ken Lowry climbing Mount Sophia. Look at this guy.
Whoa.
Look at
Man,
that.
he's pretty
Look at
ripped.
those. Look at those man breasts. Those are
Yeah.
so nice.
He should hop in here.
He should. And he's got
Flex
some
his muscles. Yeah.
delts, some biceps. I mean, that probably wasn't intentional because Ken's not like that. He's not like, let's plan this out. Let's get the right angles. But like, it's a good angle.
You think he planned it?
No, I don't think he planned it. That's why I
I
just
plan it. I do all the lighting in this room just
Yeah.
so yeah.
See this from this side? That's where my circle light is coming from.
Yeah.
And where are you? Yeah, exactly. Where are you? This is new.
Yep.
New things. We are
Only
doing
thing.
new things. This is new wineskins. This is Gym Bros TLC. OnlyTanks. You can't come on screen. This is like a McMo. This is more of a silly boy McMo thing. You actually can't. I won't let you on screen unless you have a tank top on.
Yeah. And if you don't have a tank top, you gotta go cut one up.
Yeah.
Just take one of your best shirt and make it.
Or go visit Jason. He has a drawer full of cut up tank tops.
Yep.
It is.
It makes more sense.
You gotta put what's cut up in your cut up tank top. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. But we probably will talk about serious and silly things. Yanni, get in here. I bet you've got some jacked arms. Get in here. I've seen you. You can wear your shades. You can bless us with one. Have you ever seen Yanni pop onto a stream? You ever seen this?
Yeah, he's super cool. He's got a great voice for being on podcast streams or anything. It's a really interesting voice. Yeah.
It's very unique. You do too, actually. You're like,
oh, thanks. It's
Yeah,
kind of
you're
nasally and
like super,
like a nerd.
like super masculine.
Okay, yeah, that. Yeah, it's so deep. You can barely hear what I'm saying.
Who did I just? There was someone. I just heard somebody sing. There was some song the other day that I heard somebody sing that I'm not going to be able to pull this in. It's way too out there, even for me. And I was just like, man, what a great voice. Just like a great baritone. Oh, I was talking with my son about really great covers. Here we go. Let's do music.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, what makes a really great musical cover is almost like and then we got into talking about icons and stuff because I was talking to Chad about this as well, because Chad's like a music dork. And I was saying a great cover song is a song where it's true art because the original song is so good that someone loves it so much to want to be able to cover it and then make it their own. And then the song that they made their own, which wasn't their song, is better than the original song. That's what makes a great cover.
That's hard to do.
It is super hard to do, man.
Yeah.
It's
So what's a great cover? You got
So the one that I was thinking of with the bass was
Culture Wall.
what the hell's the band? The Sound of Silence. Do you know what I'm talking about? Which is originally a Simon and Garfunkel song.
Yeah.
But then Disturbed, I think, is the ones who do it.
Oh, no way. That's weird.
Dude, have you not heard that song?
I've heard that song, but I don't think I've heard Disturbed do it.
Oh my god.
Disturbed was like a metal band, right?
Yes, but it has like there's a couple of them on YouTube. One of them is their original cover. That's like their produced one.
Yeah.
And then they had one on the Conan O'Brien show back when Conan had a show on TBS. But their original one has over 1 billion views.
Dang.
It's amazing. It's
And
really
actually good.
Yeah, super good, dude. Because he has such a deep voice. I don't want to get copyrighted, but it's yeah, this one, I mean, it's a great cover. I I don't know. I have too much love for Dolly to say that Whitney's is better. It's also very good.
Dolly's great. Yeah.
Think of other great cover songs. I pulled up a list. There was another one. Oh, My Chemical Romance did one. Like I found some playlist
No way.
and they did a cover of what was it?
Did you listen to them? I was surprised you got that.
Dude, yes.
You did? Nice.
Yeah. Which
How,
was not
how
which
mad was your dad about it?
dude, which was not this is a great cover as well. Which I also listen to Nine Inch Nails a lot. This was not it was not surprising to Trip, my friend Trip Parker. He was just like, of course he would love My Chemical Romance. You
Yeah.
emo girl boy.
They were a great band. That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
was
see,
in the gym the other day and it came on, I'm Not Okay. And I was like, this is perfect.
it's
Just play
such a
more of this stuff.
it's such a great song. Like they're fun. I do like Helena probably more than that song, but they did a cover. What was the cover? Some of these I don't like. Um, where is it? Oh, Under Pressure. Under
They had
Pressure.
covered that one? I don't think I heard them do that. They would probably kill that one though. That's a good song.
Yeah, it's super good. I don't know. Think of other great cover songs. People are talking about them in here.
Yeah.
Dolly loves that. Of course, Dolly would love that people love Whitney's more. I'm sure she would. That sounds like a very Dolly thing, which is why Dolly's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think of some that I really enjoy. There's one song, it's probably one of my favorite songs. It's called Dink's Song. And I think I've only heard the original I don't actually like. I think it's only the covers that I actually like. I think Marcus Mumford did a cover that was really good. It was
What's the
from
original song and who sings it?
I don't the original. So the original song I don't know if I've ever actually heard. Supposedly it was like some um, black lady. I don't know if she was a slave or something. Just started singing it, but it's called Dink's Song. Dinks apostrophe S.
Really?
And I think Bob Dylan made it popular, but his is kind of too. I don't know. It's like I just don't really like his version. I like Bob Dylan a lot, but not that version. And then
Dink song, Dave Van Ronk. That's the only one that pops comes up.
I think that one's pretty good too. That one's probably more popular, I guess. And then,
You're
but I don't know where
really
it originated.
you're kind of in that like Appalachian folk song world
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
a little
I've
bit.
been there at least. Yeah,
But that's like where you're from.
yeah, Appalachia. Yeah, and I think even with playing music with Abram and stuff for all those years, that was a lot of. Well, a lot of our influence was like My Chemical Romance, Taking Back Sunday, Brand New. Can't say Brand New, you get canceled now. But then,
I
so
don't
all
even
that
know
like
who
what?
that is. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I still like Brand New, but apparently he did a bunch of stuff with girls. Not surprising. I mean, that seems like that
Oh, a
happens
rock
all the
star
time.
hooked up with a bunch of girls?
Yeah. So I
Weird.
don't know. So if you still like Brand New, apparently it's not cool anymore. Um, but yeah,
Ooh.
so I don't know. That was kind of our high school influence. And then when we started playing folk music, I don't know. Well, still in high school, I listened to Bob Dylan and stuff. And then, yeah, more of the Appalachian stuff got in there. Avett Brothers was a big one. Abram loves the Avett Brothers.
Yeah. No, Ava Brothers are amazing. They were at the Minnesota State Fair. I found that out the day I was going, and I was just, but you can't. There's no way to get tickets or anything, and I hate big music. It would probably have been cool to go see them there. I would love to go to more concerts. I'm coming. There's a couple concerts I'm going to
Which ones?
coming up.
Say it. You can't share it.
No, I will share it because I mean,
Okay.
whatever. I don't care. You know, I've been obsessed with this. I probably shared a lot about her. Maddie Diaz is coming through Minneapolis. I'm absolutely obsessed. She's just like I don't. She's one of those people. Is your wife still around?
No.
But this is like one of those things where I'm just like I don't women that can sing and stuff. I'm just like I don't want to be very close to her in the same room for very long. I just can't even. Because it's like a siren thing. Like I'll fall in love with you. Like a woman that can sing really well. I
Yeah.
can't. It's
Like my
dangerous.
sister. Stay away from my sisters.
Yeah, your sister can sing really
Yeah.
well, and I would have loved to hang out with her more at your wedding, but there's too much going on. I was like borderline manic.
Yeah, you did get to embarrass her in the arm wrestling competition.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, siren susceptible. Okay, there were other. What were we saying? Oh, and then And then our boy who like watches PVK sometimes in the corner, Clem Snide, Eve
Oh,
Bardsley.
he does? I didn't know he. I've listened to a few of his stuff because you've sent me his stuff before, but
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't know he was actually listened to PVK.
He's awesome. So I saw him in Minneapolis when he came through last year and got to talk to him a little bit after the show, which was pretty sweet. But I found out that he watched the corner because Dr. Jim, who like knows PVK and was at Midwestuary, like a corner adjacent guy, was in some conversation he was having in TLC land. Dr. Jim told the story that him and his son, who's a musician, went to a house show in somewhere up in Idaho, like Boise or something like that. And it was a Clem Snide house show, and he was sitting like the front row. Dr. Jim was with his son at this house show, and then Clem Snide, Eve, whatever, was just like, Dr. Jim. And he was just like, what the hell? And he recognized Dr. Jim from PVK's channel.
Wow, that's cool.
And
Has he
so
ever come? He's never come on a stream or anything though.
no,
Ah,
he's not into it. Like even
yeah, that's
he
probably for the best.
he watches and follows, and he said he's actually tried because he's friends with Scott Avett, I think mainly.
No way.
He's friends with the Avett brothers. Like if you go on YouTube, they do Scott and him do a bunch of acoustic covers of his Forever Just Beyond songs, which are pretty cool in like a
Yeah.
barn, one of the Avett brothers barns. And then but he said he's tried to get ska into the TLC before. This is what he told me at the concert because we talked about it a little bit.
That would be fun.
But he just hasn't. Whatever, dude. This is
Scott's a cool one.
I mean, Scott's the shorter, older one.
He's older. The banjo player.
I think he's older.
I don't know. Who's
No, is he the banjo player? So like the one who's I don't know. I can't ever tell which one's saying lead. So like
yeah, they
I
do
have
a good job with that.
like their whatever their big song is, like I Have No Enemies. What's the song called?
I don't know. I haven't listened to it.
Hard Feelings. No Hard
while.
Feelings is like their giant song. And they I think not the guy who wrote it and who sings lead is not Scott. There you go.
Okay. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you and your wife like the same music?
Sometimes.
That's nice.
I don't not completely because I mean because that's kind of the joke. I'm all across the board, you know. Like I love Maddie Diaz and My Chemical Romance, which is total chick music. Like when I go to this concert, I'm going with some friends and my wife will go, but like it's just gonna like we might be the only two dudes there, me and my buddy.
That's fun.
Like there will be no guys there. And so I like that kind of music for sure. And like I love Celine Dion. You know, like I love a lot of that kind of stuff.
I do
Boy
too.
bands.
Yeah.
But then I love when I was younger, I listened to a lot of like Rage Against the Machine and Korn, and I never got into like heavy metal stuff, but I mean I like really heavy, intense music too. Like Rage Against the Machine is one of my favorite bands.
Did you get in trouble for music when you were younger?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I grew up to like, you know, I don't know, Baptist-y, Christian, Satanic Panic type stuff. You know, I was listening to way too edgy of music.
Yeah, Korn's pretty heavy, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean they are, and so is Rage. Like, but like I still love Rage Against the Machine. Like, I listen to lyrics of theirs. Like, I was driving around town the other day listening to like one of their albums I haven't listened to in a long time. But even like their main song is I was thinking about the lyrics the other day. The one where it's just like we're deep in like I'm deep inside your children, they'll betray you in my name. But it's like a song about capitalism and consumerism. Like their Rage is amazing.
Yeah. I don't know that I ever listened to them that much. I mean, I'm super familiar with the name. But your Siren's Acceptable.
Dude, here's here we go. Mark Jackson, Penny Lane. He does Mark will bring the old guitar on screen sometimes and do just some
Yeah.
impromptu singing.
Yeah,
Hey,
I've heard him do that.
go grab your banjo. Play us a song.
It's right there. My pretty banjo.
Go get it. Show it off.
I'll show it off. I don't know. I'm
You
not
don't
gonna
want to
play
play a
anything.
song?
I don't know
You
what
don't
to
have.
play.
What's like right?
I
Play.
only play originals. I don't do
Yeah,
any covers.
but
Because
do
every
that.
time I try to do a cover, it actually sucks really bad. So I'm like, this is not better than the original. So I'm just gonna leave it alone. I just need to find really, really bad songs and then cover them, so that way my version will be better. But
Yeah. Only cover terrible songs.
yeah,
Do do Hallelujah. Do that.
the I just listened to that actually this morning. I don't know how to play it, but I was just in the bathroom time you're scrolling through your phone on Instagram, and there was a guy, and he said he didn't. He's an Asian guy, and he was like singing songs with an Asian accent when I don't actually have one. So it's just him playing that song, Havarura or something over and over. I'll grab it.
That I don't approve of that. Dude, what? What are we talking about? Modest Yahoo? I like Modest Yahoo. How did that get brought up? Knock. I haven't listened to a lot of Modest Yahoo, but like his song, whatever, his super big song I love. I can't remember how I got exposed to it. Now we're talking,
That's
buddy.
banjo. I don't know what to cover though.
Play with Modest Yahoo one day. You know that song?
No. I'm not gonna know any covers. I don't
No, that's
think.
not a
There are a
cover.
few covers I know. I know the Robin Hood cover, but I don't
Yeah.
want to play it on here because I don't do it as good. The one
Donnie.
where they're in the prison.
Which one? Modest.
No, the one from I said from Robin Hood, Disney's Robin Hood.
Oh,
They're in the
dude.
prison.
You
Actually,
talking
no,
about All for One? No,
no.
we're talking Three Musketeers there. That's a great no.
Three Musketeers. I don't know.
Dude,
I should look that one.
dude,
I'm trying to think. I'm sure I'm thinking of the same one as you. There's
no,
so
we're
many
talking two different movies, but
No. The Three Musketeers movie though. Who's in it? It's the guy that plays Robin in like
yeah.
yeah. That I've seen that one. It's been so
Oh,
long ago, I don't remember it.
dude, we can't play it. I'm just gonna share a screen so people know what we're talking about. This is the kind of stuff that I just All for One, All for Love, Rod Stewart, Bryan Adams, and Sting. Are you kidding me? Like, I mean, that is like such a powerhouse. They are those guys, like Rod Stewart. Sting's voice is like, all right, I'm okay, but like Bryan Adams and Rod Stewart, those guys' voice, get out of town. Get out.
I need a better voice. I don't have a good voice. I have an interesting voice, but not a good voice.
But yeah, don't you think though, somewhat musically, that just interesting voices are? Because like I'll say this about Chad. I love Chad, but like his like I wouldn't say Chad has a classically good voice, but it's almost like or it's like Dylan, Dylan didn't have a great voice, but but Chad's song, and it's partially because of the branding and gets played a lot, but like his Midwest Metagelical song,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I
That
absolutely
is, yeah,
love
it's
it.
good. Yeah, you just have to be interesting, I guess. You don't actually have to have a great voice. My sister helps a lot though. If I do a song, I'm just like, hey, you want to sing on this to make it sound 10 times better?
Jeez, Mark is telling us some musical stuff. As a singer, Sting's voice is jaw-droppingly good.
Ooh.
That's a good sentence, by the way, Mark. There's a lot going on there.
What do you mean? It's a good sentence.
Dude, singing,
It's got a comma in it.
jaw-droppingly good, singing.
You did miss the apostrophe though. There should be an apostrophe in there. So
There should be. I wasn't talking grammatically. I have a grammatical question for you though.
okay.
So this was so I was grocery shopping at my local co-op the other day, as I do, and I was going out, and we have you have a member, like a co-op member number, and so you go in and it's assigned every time you check out. And I gave them my number, and then they said my name, my wife's name, because that's what's on the account, and And then they just said our names, and I said, yeah, it is us. But then I was like, actually, well, I said, I don't know. Would it be, it is we? We have Cal here. He will know the answer to this. Because like when someone calls you on the phone and they say like Luke, and then like the proper grammatical response is it is I, because it's a linking verb. And so like with a linking verb, you need to use the nominative case, which is I, which is, the noun form instead of the objective form, the subject form.
Yeah.
And so you say it is I, but then at the grocery store when you're doing that and they say my name and my wife's name, would you respond and say it is we? But that just sounds, sometimes when you use proper grammar, it sounds pretentious.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
It is we. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like if you said it is I, that would sound pretentious.
Right.
But it would still
I
sound
do that
really,
just
really
a little.
badass. Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Like when I'm talking to somebody on the phone and they ask a question like that, like they're not a friend and they're like, is this Luke Thompson? And I'm like, it is I, because I want you to know I'm smarter than you
Yeah.
and I'm better than you.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
I think it's nice because like this is something that we talk about in the corner. I think it's nice to have clearly defined boundaries, And so like from the beginning, it's actually an act of love for me to let you know that like I'm above you.
Yeah. So people know how to approach you on their knees. Exactly.
It is we is grammatical, I think.
That's nice.
So
What's he doing? Why isn't he in here?
Cal, I don't know what he's doing.
Probably brushing his teeth or something with the glass.
Ian had a great reply to me recently. So there's a few corner things I want to talk about. I don't know. I can't remember what we were going to talk about when Lucas showed up. But,
it was like culture in America and Europe and how the French are not very nice and all that sort of stuff.
We could talk about that. That is a great subject.
But if you have other topics, there are other topics too. I mean, I threw a few in there, but I don't know that we should touch on them.
Also, OG, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That I'm better than people. I'm not better than people. To be blessed is to be cursed as well, to quote Clem Snide.
Don't take it back.
And so it's like, here's the thing, right? To be constrained, to be embodied, to be a person is to be gifted in certain ways, right? The hand is not the eye, is not the foot. And so when you're gifted in certain ways, like being super Jim Bro TLC jacked,
yeah, exactly.
You're not going to be gifted in other ways,
Yeah.
Like Lucas, he's not here yet, but like that guy is so handsome, he's got to be a douchebag.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Like he was a model.
He's very handsome. Yeah.
He was a model.
He just posts his shorts of him just flexing all the time, breaking gym machines. Did you see that one?
No, did he break a gym machine?
Yeah, I think it was one of the pull down ones. I think, and he pulls it down, and the whole thing just snaps and falls apart. He's just too strong.
That's ridiculous. And then he posts it like a jerk.
Yeah.
See, Donnie's jacked in his heart. This is like what matters more, like the circumcision, the outwardly circumcision, or the circumcision of the heart, right? Who are you looking at? Your wife? Rolling your eyes?
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen, if she doesn't approve of me,
do you approve of Luke? I'm putting you on the spot. Yeah. She's as what? as a man.
Yeah, just like my general being.
Just as a person, is general being.
You approve that I'm alive?
As a human being, she approves. You're allowed to exist.
See, would you rather be jacked outwardly or jacked in your heart?
Outwardly, obviously. What? I mean.
Oh man, that's good. The right to bear arms.
Yeah, that is good. Yeah, is he? I don't know who that is.
I think I've seen their comments before. I'm not sure who it is, but yeah, this is the appropriate right to bear arms. Tank tops.
Yeah. I go to church. You go to church like this?
No, you can't. That's what.
Just like no, you can't.
Have I told you that when I went to Georgia, my priest was, because he knows me well, like I didn't even ask. This wasn't a thing, but he told me before we went, he's just like, Luke, no athletic shirts. He called them athletic shirts. He was just like, no, because he knows that I like to tank out.
Yeah, I wore a tank top the day of my wedding to church that morning. But I had a shirt on over top of it, but it was
Right.
still obviously a tank
Right.
top. And I went up to take communion. He was like, "Are you gonna change?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll change before the wedding."
See,
Nice.
now,
Yeah, yeah. See, I don't know why they don't just make all shirts tank tops because you can just do that and then you're fine.
yeah, I mean, it's essentially, well, I mean, it's informal. This is like old school formality. Like people used to wear undershirts, which would
Yeah.
be like this, or the athletic shirt, the tank top. I used to wear bamboo ones until I realized you can't ethically make bamboo. Like that's just because it has to go through this whole weird chemical process.
Yeah.
It's like it's one of those things that's marketed as like environmentally friendly and renewable and whatever.
Yeah.
But if you find out how it's actually made, you're like, well, that's a lie.
Oh. I didn't even
So
know they made clothes out of bamboo.
well, dude, come on.
Yeah.
Tell me something you do know.
I don't
Dude,
know. Put me on the spot.
mama take these guns for me.
Nice. Nice. So, what were your topics that you had thought of?
Oh, yeah, this is not I can tell the amount of people that are watching right now. Like right now it's 12 and like there were more and then like the more we just talk about silly ridiculous things, they just dropping like flies.
Really? We got to talk about something serious?
Yeah.
About
More I do. So here's the thing. We can talk about clothes a lot. I like clothes. I do wear merino wool underwear. 100% merino wool.
why? That sounds really hot.
They're not.
It's
They're
not
not. Wool is breathable, man, and it's merino, so it's soft.
merino wool. I remember having some merino wool socks that were nice, but
Yeah.
I don't. I remember. I don't know that I'd wear them all the time. I would
Oh yeah.
definitely. That sounds really nice. In Minnesota in the wintertime, though.
I would show them to you, but
You can
they're
only go so
briefs.
far.
They're
Yeah.
briefs. I got them
Oh,
too because I was gonna wear them. I was gonna multitask and wear them as like a Speedo.
yeah, that's great.
Yeah, thank you.
Have you done that?
No, I haven't, but I do. I did go to a local pool with a Speedo with my daughters, and
Do you
they
wear
were
you
not.
wear do you normally wear Speedo?
I would like to. Like if it was just about me, like if I wasn't thinking about other people's preferences,
Yeah.
then I would
Well,
wear a
we gotta
Speedo.
move to Europe then, right? Can't we have more of
Exactly. Yeah, because
yeah.
they're not prudish.
They can wear
And
Speedos.
that's truly like that is the thing. Even like living in Minneapolis, it's very like progressive and whatever, all that kind of stuff. But it's a weird like almost like paradox, but I would almost call it like it's like a Jungian shadow thing because they're like it's very progressive and open-minded, but yet it's also like very Scandinavian, Midwestern, like polite, a lot of blue laws, kind of religious in a way. And so like it's one of those things where like they're very open-minded, but then you show up at a pool in a Speedo and like it weirds people out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I need to visit there sometime.
Which I
It feels kind of strange here too. It's like weirdly I don't know, it's just like a blend of liberal and conservative, like in Colorado, but it's just right in the Springs, in the Colorado Springs area. It's like you do see a lot of Trump stickers and stuff too. It's
no, I can
I wouldn't
imagine.
I wouldn't expect to see necessarily, but
Well, that's like Boulder was that way, but probably Colorado in general is that way more with like all their legalization of weed,
oh yeah, yeah,
you know?
yeah. That's what
All,
that's what it's all about, right?
all these but then it makes everybody hippies, but then they're also kind of but there are that I mean that's the American libertarian streak, right? Which is like hard to categorize because they're conservative in some ways,
Yeah,
but very liberal in other ways.
yeah. I think that's kind of the vibe that's here is more libertarian maybe or something. I don't know. Yeah,
But I think there
cool
should be
place.
more Speedos.
Yeah, it should be. I've never worn a Speedo. I'll
Would
have to
you
try
though?
it someday. Yeah, I probably would. Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you like tank tops so much? Because I mean, you'd think you'd like Speedos, because a tank top is like the least amount of clothes that you could wear, unless you wore like one of those, like mesh. You should wear a mesh tank top.
Oh, I should. That's the next level. Yeah. I don't know. I think they're more comfortable. Um, Also, if you do get sweaty, if you're working in them, you don't make your shirt as sweaty because
That's
your
true.
armpits aren't like rubbing against your shirt or anything.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. And it just seems easy. It's like having an undershirt all the time. And then if you need to look nicer, you just throw on an overshirt like you just did.
That's right. I want to,
way more practical.
here's a great thing since Alan is here with Corner. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about more serious topics.
Yes, let's do it. Maybe we can get the view count back up.
Yeah, that's right. So I saw this post the other day that I thought was interesting. So he said, you know, Alan's always trying to be funny. He's like, he's a look at me person. Like, look at me, I'm funny. But he said, ever since Estuary taught me to listen and be attentive to people I'm speaking to, I get interrupted in conversation so much more. I somewhat long for the days of being oblivious and talking over people. And then he said, a little less tongue in cheek, it is fascinating to see who is listening to you and who isn't. Could you fix this? I mean, Alan, good grief. Like, try to get your shit together a little bit. Someone who is really listening is looking for small gestures that indicate if you are about to speak or about to finish speaking. And I said, yeah, it's 100% the same experience for me. The better you get at conversational hospitality or the art of having a good conversation, these signals get amplified. So, like, I don't, I think that's true. I wonder, though, sometimes, like, part of that is just going to be gifting, because I feel like it's to be blessed is to be cursed as well, right? I think if you're gifted in certain areas, or like another way I think about it is there are no solutions, there are only trade-offs, which is like a Thomas Sowell quote, I think, which he was probably talking about economics, but it applies to anything, right?
Yeah,
so you decide to do something here, or it's like it's the nature of attention. You put attention here, you're not putting it over here. So then it's like, what's that? There's a term for it, like opportunity cost. You know, like if you put a bunch of attention here, you're losing these opportunities.
Yeah.
And that's just how life works. And so, like, but in a conversation, I often feel that way. But I think like what Alan's talking about, like if you're locked in, listening to someone, that's kind of like what do they call it? Active listening, which means you're not thinking about what you're going to say. You're not just waiting for them to stop talking. You're kind of almost as one, and you're listening and you're watching them and seeing things. And then like you just the cues naturally flow. Like you can see when somebody's about to stop speaking.
Yeah.
And then I think people who do that, just the conversations naturally flow really well, and you don't have people constantly talking over each other. But part of that's just natural gifting, I think, too.
Yeah. Mitch also said something to me a long time ago where, I mean, this was like years ago, where he said that he kind of likes when people interrupt each other, because it is something interesting, because I do notice what he's talking about when you get into conversations with people that have more status, I guess, and then people are so scared to interrupt what they're saying, where it's like the conversation feels unnatural a little bit. And when there's kind of this natural flow of like interruptions, not talking over each other necessarily, but I think it is what you're talking about. You're seeing that cue where like, oh, I can interject here, and it's like you don't throw off the conversation doing that either, because there's a comfortability with interrupting each other.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
That's a great, also as an aside, what's the word, like comfortability? That's one of those things. These come up in TLC all the time. I don't point this out to like out you as like using a made up word. I love that. I love them.
Is it made up?
Yeah. Like comfortability is not a word.
No way.
Like it's just, the word is just comfort. Like the noun verb of comfort isn't comfortability.
Yeah, why did I do that? That's way too many.
Well, like there's a really fun word for that. There's a technical word for that grammatically. It's a malapropism.
Okay.
So like a made up word that sounds right but isn't a real word.
Yeah, let's do more of those. I wonder how many I can come up with.
Let's look up. Yeah, think of some, because I
can think of some. I'm not. Give me so much credit. I'm not that smart.
Let's think of some. Okay, so there are some examples. The reason I even know this, I think I learned this from a movie. That movie with the last James Bond. He was in like a like a comedy heist movie. No, yeah.
He's the very pineapple of politeness. What? I like that.
That's
Instead
a
of
weird
pinnacle.
that's a weird one. I don't know. I just fade into Bolivian instead of oblivion. Or like
Oh,
electrocution for electoral votes or
these
denotation.
are
No one's doing this. No one is replacing donation with denotation. So dumb. Who who no one can you imagine somebody instead of saying donation, they say denotation? That's the dumbest one I've heard. But I like it. Laboratories for laboratories.
oh, Texas has a lot of electrical votes. That just sounds, if you're living in Texas, that sounds like what you should say.
It's a doggy dog world.
It's a doggy dog world. I am kind of curious. I would like to go through it. I don't know what they're called, the phrase from, but those weird sayings that like country folk have that like kind of make no sense, but they make sense at the same time. You know what I'm talking about? There he is.
Okay, say what you were saying again. I'm not even sure if I'm defining malapropism right, anyhow. What were you saying?
Oh my gosh! I thought you were listening to me intently, waiting to interrupt.
I was
But
reading malapropism.
I didn't give the proper social cues. Do I need to talk more with my hands?
Yeah. Do you ever have little like in your marriage though, or with friends, do you have little things like I do this sometimes when I'm talking?
Yeah.
Like I'll be explaining something and I do this, and my wife is just like, never do that again.
You do this.
She
Yeah.
just hates
No,
it.
I do mostly this. I'm just like,
Yeah.
that's
And
fine.
now it's become a thing where sometimes, like if I'm feeling especially panish or playful, I'll just be like,
That's great.
lobster fingers. That might be a malapropism. Lobsters don't have fingers, Paul. Ridiculous. Here is a good one. Yeah. Jurisdiction. Jurisdiction. Jurisdiction? That's like a jura is like a city.
Sovereignty versus sovereignty.
I always do terrible at thinking of these when I want to think of them. But what I was saying was the little sayings that like country people have, or just people from I don't know different cultures that
Right.
kind of make no sense. Like the one that's coming to my head right now is what was it? Shit fire and save matches or something like that. It's like, where does that come from?
Is that a saying?
Yeah, I think so. Because I was looking up like weird. I'm just gonna Google some. But I'm always curious to where those come from or how they start or originate.
That would be a good survival technique. I mean, if you could shit fire.
Save matches, yeah, that would be.
Like if you were out camping and someone was just like, shit, we don't have matches. Damn it. How are we gonna cook our s'mores? And you're like, guys, I got this.
Madder than a wet hen, like things like that. I don't know.
Madder than a wet hen is a good one.
Yeah.
But I think that's because hens don't want to be wet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that your experience with chickens? Do they like being wet?
I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't imagine. I go and bathe them. I just
Just give them an Orthodox baptism.
They don't necessarily seem to care. I don't know. It's just an Orthodox baptism. Dunk them 3 times.
Chickens they like dirt baths, right?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, been having to do that. Ours got mites, so we had to give them a dirt bath with this weird special medicine in it. So,
Might makes right.
Let me ask you a question: is that hair slicked back? Or
This is pushed back.
You think this is slicked back? Good. All right.
Let's just have this devolve into inside jokes until either no one's watching or we've made everyone just massively depressed. What did Cal say? Cal really is, I will say this, in my hierarchy of TLC comedy, I really do think Cal's the funniest person.
Definitely. Yeah, by far.
In the TLC, which is like, sorry, Alan. Like,
I think it's just because I'm so bad at talking to groups of people that I only talk to people like one-on-one or in tiny groups, and then I just kind of insinuate myself like into their like relationships, and then people think I'm funny just because they like me, and they like me because they spend more time with me. But it's only for the very small select group of people that I do that to, because I'm not really good at groups of people. Not good at multitasking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, when you come on stream, I feel like you bring a more focused or serious vibe sometimes because you have a topic that you're wanting to talk about, like how the Catholic Church is
I
just
don't
the
have a
best and
topic.
all other churches suck.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Al is just like, I will.
I'm joking.
Cal is just like, will you please? I'm gonna finish it eventually too. But Cal's just like, listen to my 3 hours of analytical philosophy on why
No, it's not like that.
and why the Pope means the Catholic Church is the one true church.
You
No,
never finished?
I don't, I mean, it was an interesting kind of thing. I don't know why I felt like I had to do that, because I don't know that in the end that kind of.
I think you keep cutting in and out because you don't have a tank top on. I think that's God's way of telling you. See, this is where I don't even keep my own rules because that's the thing. I'm such a
Sorry, my
personalist and I
connection
love
is bad
Cal.
over here.
Is this slicked back or pushed back?
Oh, that's such a good sketch. For people who don't know, if you want in on the inside joke, it's I think you should leave sketch. What was it called? It was titled something about the baby crying or something.
I can't remember. I've not really watched that show. The only time I've watched it, and I don't really find it that funny.
To me, it gets funnier the more I watch it. It's kind of strange. When I first saw it, I was like, "This isn't really funny," but then the more I watched it, the more.
I think you should leave is the show, I guess, huh?
Yeah, with Tim Robertson or something. But I haven't. I don't think I've ever actually watched the show because I don't really have Netflix. But I just see the ones that are on YouTube, which are just like like 5-minute sketches or something. Yeah, it's great. Mandy says it's a great show. It's a great show. That's really bad. What does that mean? What's bad?
Paul he likes to. He's always tearing people down since Paul has. I mean, he's been hanging out a lot with Alan, and they're both like cutthroat, like trying to climb the corporate ladder. Paul's been trying to climb like the church ladder forever, and now he's got Mark Parker like shilling for him, making all that money. He's got private jet fuel costs.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yep. Paul is always tearing people down. Okay. So what were some other topics? TLC topics, so we can get the viewers back up. What are some serious topics we got to talk about?
Well, so something I would like. Well, I want your guys' thoughts on this because Midwest Jury went there, met a lot of people who I love and close friends with. Then went to your wedding. It was phenomenal. Probably the most powerful Orthodox service I've ever been to for a variety of reasons I talked to you guys about. And I think I've just gotten to the point. Let's talk about this, where I've gotten comfortable saying that I think a significant number of what people that I consider my best friends are people I met online. So and then I spoke to Cassidy yesterday. I'm gonna post it at some point. I don't know. I need a reply back from her as a kind of a fundraising talking about the Breakwater Festival, which is like what they're doing over there in Europe, Germany, and the Netherlands. And something I guess what I'm trying to get at is like what is the value of Estuary TLC doing this? And for me it really comes down to like tipping my hat to Neil, Daedalus, and even PVK doing the what up, Lucas?
Hello, friends.
Yeah, there we go.
And even PVK doing the
Brought the
randos.
tank too.
But like this is what I think is happening is that we're making friends. This is how PVK has started talking about the corner, these conversations. We're making friends. Like I imagine at some point, someday I'm gonna meet Lucas. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be I'm gonna love it. I got emotional talking to Cassidy, relaying how like Elizabeth Oldfield told this really. She gave a toast at this like Supra we were at, and she said it was really beautiful. But she said one of the things that most was most endearing to her about Midwestuary was Neil and I were talking to her. We were having a great conversation, and but we kept like kind of looking away and getting interrupted because McMo was going to show up eventually to this Cubs game we were at, and Neil and I were so excited to see McMo that like we just couldn't wait, and we kept like looking, checking our phones, and then when he showed up, we're like jumping over chairs and like running down to get at him because it really is like, I mean, we essentially we're not friends. This is all trauma bonding and bullshit, but also friendship. So that's my thing.
I'm sorry, Luke. I don't own a tank top, and I crashed your stream totally.
Gotta rip the sleeves off.
Because I just wanted to see you. I did not get to see much of you at Midwestuary.
Yeah, I know.
So yeah.
It was another pitch for smaller events, because for people like me with FOMO and who would genuinely love and want to spend time with everyone, like I can't.
Yeah.
It's like a hard training ground for my salience, because like I'm on an LSD trip. I'm like, what do I pay attention to? There's all these people I love everywhere.
I just made it easy for myself. I just like anybody who asked to come and hang out with me, I said yes. And that was like, so all the hangouts that I did were all at the place I was staying.
Yeah.
So
you just sit in one place and you're like, come to me, friends.
Jordan Hall showed up on Sunday, like out of the blue. I guess Graham got on Discord and was letting people know. And what I originally thought was going to be like 5 or 6 people ended up being like 15.
A Jordan Hall fan club?
No. Jordan was just one of the people that showed up. There was a bunch of people there. Parlato was there. Grim was there because he was staying. Jeremy was there every night because Grim was staying in my Verbo. Slack, of course.
Parlato's a gym bro. What's he doing?
He
I'll
is.
never get him to come out anymore.
I think he's just working 80 hours a week. That's the conversation. Yeah.
Come on.
He doesn't really like
Money?
it. He's trying to get his employer to stop, but sometimes.
So that gets into the topic we were going to talk about. Were you talking about the grind of the American life?
Yeah, that and America versus being European. Because Lucas, you said that you're just like you'd fit in, and you're like you'd be comfortable in Europe as long as you don't act as little American as you can, and then people will like you in Europe.
Yeah, well, I guess they have a bit of an issue with Americans sometimes. I don't know what it is exactly, but it's definitely a thing. I think it partially has to do with a lot of expats, upping the prices of the properties, and then young people not being able to buy property because of it, or at least it's a factor. But
Dude,
yeah,
that's probably it. I would love to hear from you, like what you think it is, what characteristics about Americans, because that point is probably true. Like my family and I, we went to, I've maybe told you, this, but like we went to the Amalfi Coast, and I would basically tell people now, like since the internet and tourism and stuff now, I'm like, don't even go. Like there's no point in going to the Amalfi Coast anymore because it's been ruined by tourism.
Yeah,
I
understand. I think
and if you're a local there, you're probably just like, get the hell out of here.
Yes, well, people appreciate it when you adjust to the culture, and I think what maybe Americans are less used to is having to adjust. Like I find it very rare to meet an American in Europe and they don't just speak English to you. Like when you're European, it's integrated, and when you go to Italy, you try to speak a bit of Italian, or you try to adjust as much as possible. And I think that just generally doesn't happen a lot. Maybe because it's normal in the US to travel hundreds of miles and to speak the exact same language and to have a similar culture. Whereas here you drive for half a day and you've come across 3 languages and 4 countries, So it's a bit different.
How many languages do you speak?
Well, really fluently, I would say just 2, Dutch and English, and then my wife's French, so I can keep up with that. And Spanish goes quite well, and speak a bit of Brazilian Portuguese. And German, you understand
Wow,
as a Dutch person, okay.
that's amazing.
But I was telling Jason, like, it's a blessing of the environment. Like, it almost happens naturally if you're just if you're
Interesting.
just living. I also live in a city where there's a lot of people from different places, so
That's cool.
makes it much easier. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. When I was trying to learn Hindi, it was extremely hard using my phone and like just trying to teach myself. And then when I was actually in India for like a month,
Yeah,
it was so much easier.
of course.
But then at the same time,
Like,
I'm like, I don't know if I'm actually learning
yeah,
because it's, it's like, I don't know, 10 languages in one little city or something. And then they'll go in and out between Hindi and Assamese or whatever their tribal languages. And I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know if I'm actually learning Hindi anymore, but
yeah.
you're
It's cool,
picking
though.
up on some stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to go to the US one day now. It will be really cool.
Yeah. So getting back to that, I did tell you before you should visit Florida. I don't think that's the best choice. Florida is amazing, but they do have alligators there and it's a lot of fun. But you should probably see more of like the I don't know, the national parks are pretty cool, but they've been extremely crowded the past few years, I feel like. But
Well, I just want to
You know,
maximize TLC stuff. Sorry, Nick. Go ahead.
no, I just want to take the opportunity to ask a European, like when you conjure an image of America, like what comes to your mind? Because America is actually a pretty geographically diverse
Of course.
place. But what do you think of as an outsider? Like what's quintessentially American to you?
Well, like you say, there's such a complexity and nuance there. I'm more able to answer the question of how generally Europeans view Americans
Yeah.
than I do, because I'm just so embedded into American culture. It was partially how I was raised, almost, with pop culture, but also the TLC and the books that I consumed. A lot of Americans there, so I find it hard to have one single image. I think I'm blessed with a nuanced understanding of it. So yeah, I don't think I can answer that
I
question
mean,
very
your
Because
simply.
English is amazing.
Yeah, your
I don't
English
know
is
how.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, well, I speak it at home.
Yeah.
Wife being French and all, so we didn't choose Dutch or French, so we just stick to English.
Ah, okay, very good.
Yeah,
It's the lingua franca, so to speak.
yeah, exactly. But we try to switch it up. It's
how
just a
many
challenge.
how many languages do you speak, Cal? Or read?
Uh, Generously 1.5. Some days 1. Um,
No.
I work in schools in Texas,
Mm.
and they just speak a lot of Spanish over here. You cannot escape it. Um, uh, the children I work with and their parents often only speak Spanish. So as a matter of just the need to communicate, I have to leverage some intermediate Spanish,
Yeah.
low intermediate, maybe on my good days, just intermediate. And but that is not very it's not well, it's getting more second nature, but only a certain kind of it. And a lot of the time it's just me thinking of what's the Spanish equivalent of some English word I'm already thinking of. So it's like an interlanguage. So really, I only speak one language. I don't really
I'm,
speak Spanish as a second language.
I'm seeing Paul in the comments. I know Paul speaks a bit of dirty Spanish from his time. Remind me, Paul, where he was. I think Dominican Republic or something.
Mi español
He
no
knows
es sucio, es limpio.
exactly. He knows some cuss words for sure. I know that.
All my kids, they understand Spanish fluently, and they don't speak that well because I've said this a lot. My wife had the brilliant life hack of from the time they were very young, we only let them watch TV in Spanish. So like we just wouldn't let them watch TV unless it was in Spanish.
Yeah.
So they can all understand things fluently and speak a little bit, but that's kind of a little bit of a different organ, speaking versus just hearing. And so now, and I know just a tiny bit of Spanish, and so sometimes I'll say things in Spanish, mainly just to prompt them to make fun of me because like my accent's terrible and I can't roll my R's and do all that stuff. So I often say that I am fluent in no languages, and English is my second. So
Nice. Yeah, actually, I could say the same, but
Yeah,
my
that
dad would say
actually
about
that I
me.
vibe with that more
Yeah.
Well,
because you said Lucas go ahead.
well, Cal, the fact that neither you nor I have a secondary language in which we're fluent it is kind of a symptom of being American, because I've known you for a while, Cal.
It is.
You clearly have a facility for language, and are naturally gifted with language and pick up language easily, which is why you have a smattering of knowledge of like so many different languages in your tool belt.
That is true.
Just as I do. But neither of us has actually had the opportunity to completely master a second
Indeed.
language, because there's just, as an American, there's no circumstance that causes you to need to do it. So yeah. I doubt that.
Yeah,
I wonder how many. I doubt, like, educated Romans. I don't think they probably picked up many other languages either. I think they pretty much could lean on Latin throughout the empire.
That's a very good question. I don't know. I feel like a lot of them would have known Greek as part of their education.
That's true.
But then again, did they really master it? I don't know.
But reading Greek, just like, I mean, you and I read a little bit of Greek too, but reading
Yeah,
Greek
exactly.
and speaking Greek are different things.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, the boundaries also.
But I heard Lucas say that he.
Sorry, go ahead. It's difficult. I've never done a five-way
I'm listening to
conversation
you.
before. Yeah, well, the difficulty I find is that even in the Netherlands, a lot of people, when they come here, they don't learn Dutch because everyone can switch to English, and so you're never going to be forced to learn something.
Whoa.
Me being, having gone to different countries where there's really no other language they speak, that forces you to learn. But otherwise, there's such a barrier. It's difficult.
yeah, Cassidy's really.
See, Lucas, I heard you say. No, I'm listening. Sorry, go ahead.
Are you done?
Can
Are
I
you done now, Cal?
Cal, will you turn your camera sideways again? Can we see that? See if it rotates?
Okay, hold on.
Okay, perfect. That's great. Yeah, you fit in. You fit in more. Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, that's better.
Am I sideways? Am I better now?
No,
You're
it
pretty
doesn't
sideways.
I don't know if I'm sideways now.
I can't tell. You just
Yeah,
look.
I think I'm sideways now.
I saw you do that earlier when Luke was talking. It's hilarious. No, it's not working. You're just, but I mean, it kind of works. Anyway, sorry. That was my interruption.
So what I was gonna say about Dutch. So Cassidy's over there, and I think she's trying to learn Dutch. So I spoke with her yesterday and got to see Verity, which has been forever. Like I haven't got to talk to him in a long time since he just quit the TLC. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. He just got married and didn't need it anymore. He moved on. But they had I got to see their daughters, and I forget what their oldest name is, but she's just at that. She's probably like, huh?
Nilian, I think.
Yeah. And so she's at the age where she's like, I don't know, probably, I'm guessing like 1.5, 2-ish or whatever, but she's just speaking toddler kind of nonsense. But then she's speaking in Dutch and English, but kind of toddler nonsense. And I'm like, I can't tell if she's can I just not understand her because it's not my kid, and she's just like in that liminal place of not really knowing language, or is it Dutch or is it English or what's going on? Very cute.
Yeah. Well, props to Cassidy. She's doing a really good job at speaking Dutch. She recently did an estuary with her, and then she did a bit of Dutch throughout it, and yeah, she's almost completely there. I'd say she's doing a super good job.
That's
really
great.
Understandable. Yeah, it's really impressive from an outsider. Dutch is really difficult to learn, I would say.
It's one of the only ways for an American to learn another language is they have to marry someone who speaks another language.
Yeah, there isn't. I mean, like Nate said, there's really not only like necessity or need to learn it. It's like there's not even an opportunity. Like if you went around trying to talk in Greek, it's like who are you going to talk to? Yourself in the mirror? Like there's
right. Yeah.
Greek people.
You know what You know what I'm very interested in is very unscientific Sapir-Whorf type questions of whether certain languages are just intrinsically better suited to bringing out the subtleties of different topics,
Oh,
either like science or art.
Yeah.
And like my dad is sort of like Lucas in the sense that my dad grew up speaking French as his first language, but had and only learned English as an adult. Actually, not like Lucas in that way, but that I sometimes see that he does not know the word in French anymore, and so he has to put in the word for English, the English equivalent, if he's speaking French to someone else. And so there's a certain way in which English has really become his like number one language, but he also says that a topic can only really speak to his heart if it's in French. It only pushes those emotional buttons.
Yeah.
If it's in French, and so I don't know. Like I heard I roomed with some Palestinian Arabs when I was in college, and I spoke with their dad, and the dad said like uh, Arabic is the only language you would want for talking about God, but English is the best language for like computer programming. And I was thinking, is that just an accident of the fact that a lot of computer programming has been done basically with English as the natural language, in the background, or is there something to that? I don't know. What is Lucas? Do you feel like Dutch is a language that is in any way better suited to any particular topic or subject, and or do you feel like there's a way that it's the only language that will kind of push your emotional buttons, or do you feel an artistic connection to English that maybe even exceeds
Yeah.
your connection to your mother language?
Well, those are great questions. I feel that, well, I've spoken on this topic before, and I got some shit from Germans in the comments
Oh.
because I said that
Excellent. That's
German
how we know we're doing
basically,
it right.
I think German is basically a bit less poetic and
Mm,
beautiful than, let's say, Italian or Spanish, and I think German is better for engineering and
mm,
for very precise topics.
Nine.
mm.
Because it has such a broad vocabulary and super specific. And I think in German it's very normal to like create new words by adding to existing words and just creating a new one. So I think there's
Like
truth to that.
like
Like
comfortability.
yes, yes. And in English
And it's so weird that English, we don't have that at all. We suck at that. Our process for that is so clumsy.
there's always spaces between everything. I'm always surprised when I'm typing in English, like, oh wait, this is all spaced out. Whereas in Dutch, a lot of it is together as well. Um, but pushing emotional buttons type of stuff, I think actually in English that's easier for me for some reason. Partially because I fell in love in English, and I think speaking Dutch was throughout my teenage years and throughout growing up, and I was quite a cynical teenager and child. So Dutch actually, I tend to be a bit less nice as well in Dutch. I feel sometimes where I have to train myself to.
I'm a real asshole in English too.
No.
It's interesting how people's self-perception of their language can be different than what we think about it as people who are not speakers of that language. So, for example, like Russians tend to think of English as being a really flat, unexpressive language.
Yeah.
Which, considering the reaction that we have when we hear a Russian or Eastern European accent, like we kind of like we are either intimidated or we sense it as being cold typically.
Mm.
But whereas for them, it's like they see their language as being much more expressive and emotional and less flat than English.
Yeah. Well,
That's very interesting. I don't know if this is just something to which I am blind as a monolingual and obligate English speaker with no real frame of reference, but I often think that English, like, I don't know if it really has a lot going on. I don't know if it has a lot going for it, either on the form or the content side, just aside from the world to which it happens to be connected and to give you access, that I think makes English so attractive to everyone
Well,
else. Like, in other words, the
Well, Cal,
world
it
of art, movies.
does have an obvious superpower though.
Yes,
Like objectively, that is
multiple throughout history.
the vocabulary of English is so many times what any other language
Right,
has.
exactly. And so I'm not sure it's the formal properties of the language. All the vocabulary is large, so that is kind of either a form that's a content type
Which
thing.
means being
But
someone who's really fluent in English, who has absorbed a large amount of that massive vocabulary, gives you ability to say things that you couldn't probably say
Yeah.
in another language. If you have if
exactly,
you're an English speaker with a really outstanding vocabulary, you're going to be able to say things that you may not be able to say exactly in another language that has a more limited vocabulary.
yeah, and a lot of that is just it's cultural, in it, or it has to do with reaching into different domains of knowledge that have specialized terminology, pretty much only in the English language.
Do you think English has the ability to kind of absorb other languages? Like because I was thinking about Vervaeke and him using Greek all the time, and then it's weirdly that it almost becomes like part of the English vocabulary.
We've done that. Like look at English. We've borrowed
Totally.
from all over the place. We have
Yeah.
Greek origin words, we have Latin origin words, we have tons of French words. Obviously, we have lots of words that have Germanic roots that are quite similar to Dutch because that's the core of the original English language. I mean, yeah, it's we've become like we're a hybrid language that just grabs from wherever, just like we're a hybrid country that kind of just grabs from whatever.
Yeah.
It's hybrid, because if we had been true to our sort of Anglo-Saxon roots, our sort of concatenative morphology, or our way of putting new words together out of existing roots, would have been the way that German and Dutch languages do it. But that's not what we do. We have this really weird artificial process of coming up with basically fake Latin and fake Greek, and sometimes both fake Latin and fake Greek in the same word.
I love it.
And that's the way that we coin. Well, it's been going on longer than just the period of American hegemony, but that's really interesting to me, because no other language really seems to do that. And have such a kind of clumsy process.
Even before the period of American hegemony, that was preceded by England having the largest empire in the history of the world. So
exactly, very true.
God, what I'm taking from this is we're awesome.
I know, right? That's
is that the Cliff Notes?
Like Lucas,
what Europeans don't like is how good we are.
In our last conversation, right? Didn't you say that, Lucas? There's like, we're in America, you're celebrated for being exceptional. That doesn't happen other places.
I think more so in the US than where I'm from. For example, we have a very much cultural ethos of act normal. What I like about American culture is perhaps the dream of making it in some sort of way. That I've been inspired by from a younger age. I like this idea for sure. I think it's what attracts a lot of immigrants to the US as well, for sure.
And it doesn't happen for everybody, but it's very much not made up. It's very real, right? So like my son is on the autism spectrum, and like he's become like very, very libertarian, very pro-capitalism. And like one of his favorite examples to give is there's this American sports television personality. His name is Mel Kiper Jr. And he's just this super autistic, nerdy guy who became obsessed with the NFL draft in the late 1970s. And he made a cottage industry from himself out of nothing, of being an NFL draft expert who is like all over television and super famous. He created an industry that did not exist out of his own autistic obsession with something that nobody cared about until he made people care about it.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's inspiring. I mean, by the way, just as an aside, can I talk in the chat here, because I saw a question that I wanted to answer from Mark, and I don't want to disrupt the conversation for it. Yeah, this one. It's English, Mark. I don't want to disrupt the conversation too much for answering this. But is there a chat that I can talk into if someone has some?
You can just put it in
Yeah.
the YouTube.
Okay. Then I'll open
Yeah.
that. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, no, you're good. Or you can reply in StreamYard. You should be able. No, maybe you can't reply.
That's smart. I've never pulled up the YouTube. There's always this little button down here that says join the chat. And then when I click it, I'm always scared I'm going to screw something up. And so I never go forward with it. So I'm like, I just won't be in the chat right now. But I could open multiple tabs and be that guy. Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
there's
What do
kind
you
of
think, Luke, about this? What Nate just said, and about being exceptional or creating something like that in the U.S.
I mean, I think yeah, it definitely is because per what we were texting about and the differences between America and Europe and I think that's very true in ways. It's funny that I said it's a very me thing that I feel in a lot of ways very European, but also extremely American in certain ways, which is not surprising because I've had conversations like my dad even his whole like who sired you boy, like I feel like I was kind of a European born in the middle of rural South Dakota, and they're all like you're a super weirdo because there's a lot of things about Europe that I love and prefer. And like when my wife and I were early married, I mean, there's part of me that would have almost wanted to move to places in Europe because of just the things they value, like the kind of ambitious, almost you can be exceptional in America, but often what that requires is a kind of ambition and dogged kind of Protestant work ethic where you're just going to work 80 hours a week obsessively to become exceptional in kind of a climb the corporate ladder way where like to me just feels like selling your soul because I'm very much like one of the reasons I love French culture so much is I saw this chart once of countries and like how much they spend on food comparatively. And the French are just, I think they're double or triple like the number 2 country. And I'm just like, that's why I love French people. They live to eat. And that's how I am. Like, I love food. I
Yeah.
just want to hang out with people on patios and eat and drink for hours. How can I set up my life where I can just do that every day? That's what I want to do. But yeah,
That's what I do.
I know. Yeah, you native accomplishment. But
That's
yet,
how I live.
on the other hand, though, I'm super American and like I'm a don't tread on me. Like I'm an anarchist. I'm like, don't tell me what to do. I don't like groupthink. I do want to stand out. I have my own opinions.
Act normal. Come on.
Yeah, act normal sounds like hell to me. I'm like, what does that even mean?
You're going to go dress up like My Chemical Romance after this.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, you're on mute.
I thought we were all about celebrating the center and normalcy in TLC.
Yeah, right.
Are you questioning that?
What were you saying, Lucas?
Sorry, my mic was muted.
Yeah.
Luke was saying about food. Yes, okay. I think leisure is something that should be more natural than it is.
Yeah.
But it definitely isn't. So I understand the want. I think back in the days, even in Greek times, of course, there's a lot of slaves as well. But let's say the people that we read and that were in fortunate positions, you work the land, for example, and you just have a lot of time on your hands to read, to reflect, to do all sorts of practices. And I think nowadays it is a big issue. I see it all around me. I mean, I don't know how it is in your guys' environment, but in my age group, people that are, late 20s, early 30s, there's just burnouts every third person I know. It's crazy. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, that is true because the peasants had a lot of downtime, and of course, a lot of them could not read, but they could practice like these massively cool crafts, like archery, like brewing, like they got into absolutely insanely cool stuff that these days we don't. I mean, even if we have sort of the.
I kind of think we're shit. That's one thing I would say that's a weakness of American culture. It's like, so if our strength is like we're good at allowing opportunities for people who have a drive to be exceptional, like to literally create something out of nothing, and to have all these possibilities for people who are willing to put in the work and do it. We're really shitty at leisure. because there's actually pressure to be like that, a lot of pressure to be like that. And so what happens is that we end up a lot of Americans will end up trying to like figure out a way to gamify or monetize their hobbies.
Yes.
And we suck at leisure. And in addition to that,
Yes.
we're so hyper capitalist that our leisure industry and tourism industry makes it so that it's actually hard to go anywhere and have genuine leisure.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that is so I would
true.
say as a culture, we kind of suck at leisure as Americans.
Totally.
So you're good at leisure, Jason?
I'm getting better at it. It's been kind of, yeah, I've almost had to like teach myself, I think, with it. My dad is just always working, like all the time. And so growing up with that, I don't know if it's growing up with that, that made me kind of feel the same. I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Like if I lay around too much, I'll just start to feel lazy, and I'm like, I got to do something. Like I have to be efficient somehow. Which I really do appreciate that a lot. But my dad, I think some of it too is like, I was talking to my younger sister about this, Natalie, not too long ago, and she said that our dad's love language is acts of service. So I think that's a lot of it too. Like I've never seen him like not working. The only time he doesn't work, he's very routine, and I think it's probably like 9 p.m. He'll go and he'll watch TV for like an hour, and then he'll go to bed. And that's like the only time he's not working. He's either doing his job, and if he's not doing that on the weekend, he's doing yard work, or he's up working on his cabin or building or something.
Jason, I think that's particularly true for American men on the whole. Like that's not even exceptional. That's the norm.
The norm, yeah.
That's the norm.
Yeah, but it is like there's the way he's just watching him growing up, watching him just grind all the time. The way he's provided for his family, though, it's just very admirable. On one hand, it is kind of sad. Like I do wish he would take more time because it doesn't seem like I don't know that he could enjoy leisure very much. Because even when we'd go on like family vacations or something, it's like every day we gotta have something to do. It's like let's go do this, let's go do this, or at least we're going to play or do something. And it's like nobody's like it's my mom who would just be like, okay, should just sit on the beach and read or something. And it's
I have two younger sisters. The older of my two younger sisters is the worst. I do not ever want to go on vacation with her because she's one of those people that gamifies the vacation. It's like you got to do this, that. Like it plans out every single fucking moment of the vacation, so that there is zero leisure.
Yeah.
Whereas, okay, so it is the norm to suck at leisure. I'm very naturally good at leisure. I'm a fucking hobbit. I am a gigantic overgrown hobbit. Like I it comes naturally to me, but I think in general I do see a lot like our culture in general has a hard time with it.
Yeah, my oldest sister is like that too. She'll plan if she plans a vacation, it's like she'll give you an itinerary and it's like how the hell is this gonna happen? But she doesn't stick to it super hard line, which is nice. And the other thing I appreciate about it is like if it was left to I have 3 sisters, then it's Jessica, then me, then Melissa, then Natalie. And me and Natalie are probably the least planners. So if it wasn't for Jessica, the oldest one, planning stuff, like we would probably get if we went on vacation or went to like Europe or something, we'd be like, well, now what do we do? Like we'd just be like we wouldn't have any direction sort of at all. So it's kind of nice. She'll give a list like you can do this, you can do that. But it is overwhelming. It's like there's no way all this stuff is because if one thing goes wrong, it's like there goes the whole itinerary. It's just gone.
Right. It's not. No, I need to figure this out because in my family we didn't vacation for the longest time, and now we've started doing it a little bit more. But even when we go, I feel like we're not practiced enough to know how to vacation well because you do something like that. Like part of our Italy trip, you go to Rome, you go to Amalfi, and then you have all these things to see. And I think that's one of the temptations is like, we got to see all this stuff. We got to make sure we don't miss it. Cause like, what if we don't ever come back? But then you just end up like gamifying the trip where you're just like going, grinding the whole time. And like, what I would like to do is not grind. And so then I've decided if I go somewhere, like I'm either going to, my preference would be to go and visit like people that I've met in the TLC and just go hang out with them
Yeah.
super casually, or go to some place. Like if I were to go to Italy again, I would go to a city no tourist would ever go to,
Yeah.
and then just like hang out.
Yeah,
You'll
that's what I
find,
mean.
you know what, Luke? If you do that, you'll find something amazing that make you glad that you did it.
Yeah, that's
Probably.
true. Yeah, yeah, like
I-
So whatever you gamify. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'm
no,
sorry.
no, you go. I want to hear this. This sounds
It's like whatever you gamify, it can't exceed your preconception of
exactly
what
right.
it
You're only
has to
setting yourself
be.
up for disappointment.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
All right, guys, I gotta go. Nate. I left a comment. Nate has the reins,
Bye,
and
Luke.
The boss.
and we will talk to you guys more some other time.
Wait, I got a quick
Thank
question.
you.
Where are you right now? Are you like in a corner in your yard? What's going on? Are you in a sauna?
I'm
You
in
like-
He's in the
You
corner
relocated.
of the
Can I
little
ask?
corner.
I can't ask. It's too personal.
this
That's
little-
actually the corner that the little corner
Oh, gotcha.
denotes. That is
Oh
that one.
wow, he's in the little corner.
He's there.
Yeah.
He
Sorry,
is the corner, and he's in the corner.
I'm prying too much. I just really want to get to know you.
This is Jason. I love you, and I appreciate that you asked that.
False
But this
karma.
is the one. This is the one room I won't talk about.
Oh, okay. Sorry. All right. Get out of here.
All right, Luke. Thank you so much. Oh, he's gone. I'm learning the ethic of this live stream thing. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just goof off.
People come in, people go out. It's fun.
Yeah, Luke Luke does that a lot. Like
Yeah.
he'll start a stream and then leave and hand it over to somebody.
Yeah.
So yeah, even if it was somebody who had no business being on the stream and just crashed it randomly.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's like going back to the traveling and gamifying stuff. That was one of the things we talked about with our honeymoon. We were thinking of different places, and we thought about Italy because both of us really want to go to Italy. But we were just like, if we did that, I feel like it would get gamified because we'd just be like, oh, we want to see this, we want to see that, and then it was just like it wouldn't be relaxing at all.
Yeah.
And so we were like, let's not do that. Because
I think it's all right to have. That's what we usually do nowadays. Me and my wife are also quite opposite. I've become very good at leisure, at least at doing nothing. I just really don't mind. But then sometimes I do miss out on seeing things, and so we just pick one or two things that we like to see.
There you
maybe
go.
in a day, and that's it.
yeah,
You have plenty of time around it, and you don't feel rushed. So you could
Yes.
figure that out in Italy.
okay, yeah.
Because
Yeah,
in Italy, missing something, or in Italy, you miss the experience if you don't have leisure, because that's all Italian, you know. So
Yeah.
you will mess it up for yourself if you do gamify. But there's beautiful things to see that you're gonna want to see. But
Yeah,
there's no way to see everything. There's just too much.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things that that's a mistake that a lot of Americans will make when they're on their vacations and stuff. They'll just try to cram too much in.
yeah.
You know?
It is that. I think it is that some of that fear too, though, of like you're going halfway across the world, and especially if you're taking a family, it's like, man, when will we be able to do this again? Because you got to pay for so many tickets. Like if you're a single person traveling, I think it's probably easier to maybe enjoy that. Yeah, it just offers you so much more freedom, I guess, in travel. Which kind of sucks on the one hand. There's a song. It reminds me of the song. Going back to music all the way. It's called "Beautiful Friend," and he says, "All the living that you got to show cost the loving that you never had." And I just always really like that line. Like, there's this total freedom in being single and just being able to do whatever you want all the time. But then when you bring in more people and more of a family, it's like you're more constrained, but you get a different sort of richness out of life. There's always a
it's
trade-off.
also freedom in a way, I guess, to be constrained. I think.
Yes, that's true. That's 100% the paradox of it. I mean, I'm thinking analogously right now of like, okay, gamifying vacation bad. How do I have the ultimately non-gamified vacation, right? Which is and then so there's a certain way where two answers come to mind. One is there's this place you've always wanted to go. It's just like in your heart to just spontaneously like enjoy it. Or option B is it has to be like the universe, really God, has to be the one who's proposing it. There's a certain way in which it has arisen organically. There's a certain way, or even out of necessity, a kind of a liberating constraint. That's the only two ways I can kind of see for that. But even then, it's like if I'm like gonna go to France to like have my, this is not my ultimate non-gamified vacation, but like if I'm going there to have that, then there's a certain way where it's like I'm gonna kind of like subconsciously be trying to gamify it and set up all these preconceptions. There's almost not an escape from that. The only true escape is when you have no choice.
Yeah.
when God has proposed the thing, and then you just say yes.
Yeah. Well, I think about this in relationships as well, where more and more, the more my friends get to late 20s, the more they feel the issue with being single, let's say, the pressure of all the options. Whereas the people that are the most free are the ones in healthy relationships. Um, whereas I grew up thinking the opposite, that I find fascinating, and I wonder how far it applies to other domains. I think a job in a way is also freeing. It's a bit, maybe tell me what you guys think about how free will works, because when I spoke about this with my brother, for example, Jason, we came to a sort of conclusion like you are free to choose the things that bind you. You may not be free in every little action you take, but by choosing things that bind you, and if those things are good, then that's the maximum amount of freedom you should want to have, let's say. um, I don't know what you guys think about that. Maybe have a nuance about that, or
I think for me, I find that you can't actually begin to be who you really are until you are in a healthy relationship. Like that is a prerequisite for you fully becoming a person. And that on your own, you're not really free, because you are bound to continue seeking that until you find it, and then you are able to enter the next phase in your formation and your becoming.
Yeah.
Once you've found that and you're in that stable relationship. So it's kind of like you're actually, I think as a single person, you're incredibly less free, because the only thing you can do is to seek out the entrance into that relationship that you don't have. And there's like anything else that you're doing is kind of like has to be secondary to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it has to do with the idea of identity, and that you can't fully, self-identify. You can't decide your identity. You need someone to kind of do that with you.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because you're saying you choose the things that bind you, which would be choosing your identity. Because you're drawing the circle around, like, I'm choosing this, I'm really defining this thing, I'm binding my identity in this way. But then when you do that in a relationship, it feels like you do that. I mean, I'm speaking very prematurely now. I've only been married for like 2 weeks, but like there was this moment where it's like, no, you just make decisions.
By the way.
Thank you. Yeah. But it's like you just make decisions, and it's like that. Like Mark Parker says sometimes, like you choose that hill you die on. Then it's like, but then you are kind of going to die on it when you're in a relationship, and then that is kind of, you choose the things that bind you, and I guess you draw your circles, and that's kind of becoming what that seed or that arc or something, and then you're allowed to be to actually give yourself in some sort of self-sacrifice. Because if you don't have a self, you can't really, I don't know, give it.
Kel, I want to hear your thoughts about that. I'm curious if you have anything.
Boy, because I mean, Luke was talking about Calvinism last night, but like the Calvinism that he understands it, which is understanding the kind of the massive and inescapable role of divine sovereignty, but also the way that it works different from just kind of like this unilateral, efficient, zero sum kind of causation, which it is presented as in certain explicit or systematic understandings of Calvinism. And you know, I was thinking about that. Like George MacDonald is, it's the relationship between freedom and constraint, and yeah, human agency, and then divine sovereignty. And I really critically always find the way to make sense of the paradox. Not that it can ever be fully resolved, but the way to make the most sense is to situate, is like to understand that the sovereignty is in retrospect, or the determinacy is in retrospect, and the freedom is always now. And the weird thing about now is the way that it's always now, and then it also keeps becoming the past, or keeps and so but like George MacDonald said, he had a story in which a raven tells his protagonist that he must remember this all important piece of advice, uh, lest and when, if he remembers it, then some evil that is not good for him will not follow. But if he forgets it, then some evil that is good for him will follow. So there's a certain way that it's definitely a mystery. I always think of this, that like the present moment, it has genuine freedom to shake out one way or another, and you as the agent in that, I would say you have genuine freedom to choose A or B in the moment. And then, but this present moment is a superposition, that is a real superposition, but it also, like, if it collapses, when it collapses, if it collapses, you'll see in retrospect that there was only one thing that could have been chosen. And you just have to sort of affirm both of these things at the same time, but in two different tenses. Because the determinacy has to be the case in this retrospective sense in order for the principle of sufficient reason to be obeyed, and for there to be like this kind of explanatory closure. These are ideas that I very much learned from Christopher Langan, who saw the need for determinacy and generativity in a reality theory, which is itself this marvelous phrase, which is such a it's this contradictory even, and at the same time self-true sort of description of philosophy. Philosophy is a reality theory, and there's really this way that like Luke always likes to quote Miyamoto Musashi. He said, when you know the way broadly, you see it in everything. Here's Benjamin. And when you see, for Chris Langan, he understands the way that every moment has to be a self-resolving paradox. Every moment has to inherit the form or the character of this paradox, because even change itself is like miraculous, inexplicable, incomprehensible, really, the way any phenomenon sort of goes from 0 to 1. And then you can see it in like all kinds of paradoxes, like Zeno's paradox of motion. Of course, Achilles is faster than the tortoise, so he must pass the tortoise in a race, even if the tortoise is given a head start. And yet, in order to get halfway to the tortoise, in order to get to the tortoise, he has to get halfway, and then before he gets halfway, he has to get a quarter way. And because distance is infinitely subdivisible, conceptually, it seems like the time it takes is infinite, and then he can't pass the tortoise, which of course is not true. But there's a certain way that the way that things move from 0 to 1 is actually not continuous, but somehow somewhere discrete. But like that kind of moment where reality skips a beat, you don't understand, you don't perceive that moment of instantaneous change. You don't have this time out of time in which to measure these kind of breaths between moments. It's impossible to talk about. But I think that the relationship between agency and determinism, even a kind of divine or theistic determinism, is all bound up in that.
You can't step out of the flow in order to give an account of the flow.
Mm.
That's very true. I think I like the way that you tied the freedom to the now, because they're both elusive, right? They're both conceptually elusive. The now is elusive. We have an idea of it, but it's almost impossible to capture the now, the absolute moment. And freedom is very much like that too. And I think and there's a way in which we kind of have this most of us have this intuition that having that when we come into contact with a genuine sense of presence, when we have these moments of actually being in the now, these rare glimpses, that we somehow know that this has the character of eternity. And so I think that eternity, freedom, and the now are all, like, it's not accidental that those things have similarities and resonances. So.
Yeah, there's this super interesting way in which I do feel that the deterministic or retrospective or explanatory or law-like dimension of reality is somehow subordinate. It is somehow, if I can say this, it's like it's somehow in the nature of female with respect to male. It's somehow in the nature of space as against time, or it's in the nature of, it's like state as against syntax, like Chris Langan always puts it. And there's something very interesting about that. So that if I was to say which one I felt had the primary reality, I would say it's more so the present moment. But there's a weird way in which the present moment is never really quite definable without reference to
right, exactly
the past. But then again, that's that's you trying to define, which is already inhabiting the sort of kind of law-like.
Right. So that's why we can only this is why we can't contact it with our propositions, because our propositions are always time bound.
Yes.
Like that's why by the way, the reason why propositional arguments and propositional language have boundaries that they cannot cross and are insufficient on their own grounds is because they are by their nature time bound.
Yeah.
They're inherently temporal, and that's why. But participation is not. There's like when you're in the mode of participation, you're in a flow state. You are in a way, like experientially, you are outside of the procession of linear time, and you're just in the flow itself. And that's where you come into contact with these like concepts that are deeper than what we can actually sufficiently capture in our proposition, and that when we try to capture them with propositions, we inevitably run into paradoxes.
Yes.
So
yeah, well, there was something you shared a little while ago that was something about the fall being a fall into time.
yes,
and there was a sort of an extended quotation or paragraph that you had about that, and that struck me very much. I mean, it also made me think of T.S. Eliot's Four Quartets. But that is something that I truly have no conceptual vocabulary for.
right, yeah.
Let alone a vocabulary.
The larger thought that was about. So that came about. I was listening to Jordan Daniel Wood have a discussion with, who was he talking to? I think he was talking to. Oh, it was with Derek Holzer on The Plunge. Not the first talk that they had on Lilith, the second talk that they had, and Jordan was talking about the conquest of death by death, and while Jordan was talking, I was thinking about the riddle from The Hobbit, the time riddle from The Hobbit. And I was thinking about the way in which time and destruction are linked. So to me, so what I proposed, and I actually wrote it, and originally what I wrote was a comment to Jordan Daniel Wood, which he did agree with. What I was saying was that as he was having the conversation, it dawned on me that the conquest of death, that Christ's conquest of death by death is also the overcoming of time. So that time is also conquered, because time is actually another face of death. So
I
there is
Follow
no
Ashmi Lokashaya Crit. I
yeah,
am
right.
become time, the destroyer of
Exactly.
worlds.
And yeah, I shared that. I shared your comment with Jordan, by the way, Cal, and Cal absolutely agrees with your translation from the Hindu text there and thinks you're entirely right. So he agreed with my initial comment, and then he agreed with your comment on my comment. So yeah. Do you want to actually share your insight from the Hindu sacred texts on that?
I don't have any great insight on that. I just know that when Robert Oppenheimer saw the first nuclear detonation at Los Alamos, he felt compelled to quote the Bhagavad Gita, which was something that he read in Sanskrit. And I don't read in the actual Devanagari script Sanskrit, but we always had interlinears and transliterations growing up. And so he said, I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. But I happen to know that what it actually says in Sanskrit is Kalo Asmi Loka Shaya Krit. So Kalo is time, Kala, nowadays Tala, time. Asmi, I am. Loka is world, and Kshaya is Kshaya Krit. Yeah, I know it's one of those is going to be destroyer or something like that. And so that's it's not what it says growing up, but of course there is that way that time is a face of death. Time is the destroyer. And yeah, no, I mean, but like I said, I don't really have the. I almost wish you.
Anselm's pushing back really hard here, saying that time is from creation. Creation is not fall, and then fall happened after creation. I just don't. I don't think you have warrant. I don't think you have any warrant from any scripture to say any of that. Like I really don't.
Well,
I don't think that.
Almost like that may be true, so to speak, in time.
I read Genesis and come away with exactly the opposite conclusion
he's
from the same text.
To be, if I'm trying to be charitable, I would think he's probably quoting the one where God creates the planets, and he says there for at least the English translation is times and seasons and days and years or something like that. What would that?
So good.
Well, what would that imply though? Because even when you're talking about time being the destroyer of worlds, my thought was going to the Greek Kronos swallowing up the planets, the other gods that correspond to planets, and those planets listed in Genesis are given for time, seasons, and days and years, or something like that. So I don't really know what to do with that,
but which verse are you talking about?
Well, Genesis. I don't have my Bible with me. It's I want to say it's like 1:14 or something, where God creates the stars and the planets. That's what I would be guessed that Anselman is referencing. He says here Adam and Eve spent time in Eden before the fall, but I was just talking about the that one specific verse. There's
a very long tradition of linking of considering the garden to be outside of time. I don't know about that particular verse. I'm trying to find it.
Yeah, I almost, let me get my little Hebrew Bible over here just a second.
Because obviously context is going to be very important.
You start to wonder how we got here, talking about Italian food or whatever.
Well, because we had talked about free will. That was what it was.
He made the stars also, Genesis 1:16.
Genesis 1. I'll find it here. We don't want NIV. Now we're talking Bible. How did we get here? Did it all start with tank tops?
It always turns into a Bible
Well,
study.
well,
Genesis
because
1:14.
by trying to give fair, trying to give a fair hearing to a perspective that was pushing back about what was being offered on the
I
stream.
think-
And
Well, the thing is, I think he's right, but so to speak, in time, or along the law-like dimension of determinate explanation, which paradoxically is always giving rise to this kind of edge, this cutting edge of something emergent and new, and not reckoned with inside the original
How
train
do
of
you?
thought.
How do we perceive of just repetitions or rotations? Because even if I'm going back to like the very first verses in Genesis where it's talking about the day and the night, it's like, and the
well, wait a
evening and the
minute.
morning were the
Why
first day.
separating day from night is not necessarily temporal division.
Yeah, I mean, does it imply that, or would it be wrong to assume that the evening and the morning were the first day, and so like, okay, here's time introduced, or even the because I think I've heard other people say that with Genesis too, like God, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and so it's like time and space are being created there. Or something
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, well, because people always say it wasn't 6 literal days because the sun wasn't even created yet. And to have a day, you need a sun and it's rising and setting. So I guess people are getting at the idea of like.
Yeah, I think it's just, go ahead, Kyle.
Well, gee whiz, I guess I'm just saying, I mean, because Lucas and I have talked about this before, the way that you almost need a meta time in order to account for the genesis or creation of time. It's presupposing some kind of time-like process beneath, behind, ahead of it. And, like God is creating, I mean, it never says he's created time the way that we now understand time to have come into being, at the Big Bang along with space. It doesn't say that, but it does say he's creating the things that mark time.
Well,
And then
I think that Ansman just pointed out that Adam tended to a growing garden before the fall. So I think so if I follow him, what Ansman's saying there, he's like, there is becoming, therefore there is time. But I think that's wrong.
Right.
Because I think that the divine itself actually necessary, in order to account for anything existing at all, the divine itself has to contain both being and becoming. Otherwise, creation would never have happened at all. Because there is no potential for creation within static being. This is JD. I'm actually looking. This discussion is interesting because actually at Southeastuary, one of the onstage dialogues we're going to have is between Jordan Daniel Wood and JD Lionheart, and they're actually going to talk about the paradox of being and becoming. Because they both actually deal with it in their work in slightly different ways. Jordan deals with it in talking about the way in which the two natures of Christ come together.
The embodied Christological way.
The hypostasis, right. So Christologically, you see the coming together of being and becoming and the God-man. And then in his book, Monotheism, JD tantalizingly indicates that the paradox of being and becoming is actually the same paradox that we run into in trying to understand the Trinity, and and if we try to explain why there's something rather than nothing, why there's anything at all, we run into the same exact paradox. So his argument is, yes, the Trinity is a paradox, but it happens to be the same exact paradox that you run into if you're trying to describe why there's anything at all. So you end up having to posit a divine which has both being and becoming within the divine. And the best way of understanding a divine that has both being and becoming within it is in a Trinitarian model.
Because?
Because that's the language about the Son being eternally begotten is becoming language. So when your idea of divinity introduced one who is eternally begotten of the Father, then you have the Father.
Yeah. What does that even mean?
Coming together, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, I see.
Eternally begotten. Eternally
That's
begotten is the becoming part that is within the Trinity itself.
Yeah.
And so the Trinity and the idea that there's something rather than nothing lead to the same paradox. So I think it's like, so you can have, so I think Anselman is right in saying, hey, there was becoming before the fall. I agree. So what I'm saying is that there is that when we are outside of the fall, when we are in union with God, becoming is still part of our reality. So that's why I think eschatological models that are just pure stasis are wrong.
Yes. There's always generativity and
because
freedom.
In God, there will always in God there was.
And we see that actually the generativity is actually the foregrounded element in a way that we just can't even fully comprehend in time.
God is never going to stop creating. And when we are fully in God, we will also not be in a static state, but we will also be creating with God.
Yeah, I've heard a theory that one of the reasons that the oneness or even the static part of God is so emphasized is because we are inside of a substance ontology still in many ways. And substance, it has to be one. And so we can't hold that paradox of many and one together.
In the realm of substance, monism is absolutely the only option on the table. Nothing else is coherent.
Exactly.
So as long as you're operating within substance, you have to come up with a fundamental monism. You have to arrive at a fundamental monism. It's actually, nothing else is conceivable. But the minute you begin working your ontology from a relational angle instead of from a substance angle, then all of a sudden, other options other than monism are on the table. This is why I agree more with Jordan Daniel Wood than David Bentley Hart, who really, really wants to heavily emphasize the monistic aspect, which isn't wrong, but it's just not the full story. If we're talking substance, absolute monism is correct.
Yeah.
But our reality is more than just substance.
Yeah.
That's not a full. If you're accounting for the substance of the real, is not a full accounting of the real, because the real is also a real relation.
Yes.
So,
Jason,
what
are you thinking? You've been silent for a while. I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep track.
Yeah.
And these are things I understand them by just not understanding them.
Yeah.
I let myself not understand.
Yeah. Seriously, we're talking about things that are paradoxes.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening and trying to grasp on what you were saying, but I was also thinking back about when we were talking about when Lucas said you can choose the things that bind you, and making decisions that almost feel like stasis to me. And there's a comfortability in stasis, like where there isn't a becoming, and I don't necessarily allow myself a becoming, because, and this is, I'm speaking, I guess, maybe more so from a personal stance too, is being in a relationship now and trying to be a dependable or a place of stability. It's like there's stability in stasis. So it's like I'm going to harden the clay here or something. Like, is there, because a wall, I mean, there are needs for walls at some points, like, to keep floodwaters out or something. And it's like, I don't know if there's a, when do you lean that way, I guess, into stasis? Because I know it does, when we often talk about that, it does mean death, or at least has a feel of death to me, because it's just so rigid. But at the same time, it's like, oh, well, there's, I mean, even thinking about my own dad, I don't know why I woke up in the middle of the night and was thinking about this last night. And I was just like, another thing I admire about my dad is there's a lot of stuff that's like hard to deal with him. But one thing is, like, I honestly cannot even imagine in my head if like a freaking semi truck was going down the road and one of his granddaughters or his daughters or something was in the road. I cannot imagine that truck getting through him for some reason. Like, I just think he would be just a solid freaking rock. And it's like, that is something beautiful in its own way. This sort of like rigid stability or something.
Yeah.
Very, and so, but it doesn't allow. It feels like it doesn't allow for change or becoming or anything like that because it's so. Does that make sense? That's
Yeah.
where my mind was going, I guess, in all of this, and I'm like, what do I do with all of that? I guess.
Well, there's not just becoming, right? That
Yeah.
would be like we don't like that's the whole thing. It's like the divine contains both. Like it has that absolute solidity. So it's still all like I'm not overturning any of the metaphors for God that refer to God as a rock, right?
Yeah.
Because like that's the whole point is that it's a paradox. You have God the Father, who is that, and you use your Father as an example of that, right?
Yeah.
That rock solid stability, right?
Mhm.
But that God the Father is also like generates the eternally begotten Son, which is the becoming element, that becoming element within the divine Trinity. And in terms of Penn saying that you end up with a monism, if you talk about relationality too, like yes, that's why we're talking about a Trinity, because in the Trinity there are three persons who are ultimately one a singular divinity. So we're still monotheists, but we think that the best way to express that monotheism is in a Trinitarian expression, because it best captures this paradoxical nature of the divine in that it contains both being and becoming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Does this is probably gonna be a stupid question. It does or can time be a capsule for being and becoming? When we're talking about choosing things that bind you, because even like thinking about like now in this moment, now, whatever that is, the years of the life we spend here, is seemingly a capsule or something like that.
If the fall is a fall into time, then the answer
Okay.
to that would seem to be yes.
Because you guys were mentioning like the freedom. There's the freedom within constraint as well, and time seems like a constraint. But then like giving,
It
I don't
is.
know. Okay.
Yeah.
This
Well,
mortality is a constraint.
right. Well, yeah, and the way that I mean, like, and there's a way in which like in a fallen world, our dying is a gift,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, that's scary.
It really is, because think of how think of how in a fallen cosmos, think of how much worse we would make things if we didn't die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like before the flood.
Right.
Gotta shorten these years.
Hmm.
I'll have to flush the toilet again.
Yeah. All right. Well, I didn't mean to crash your stream and come in and take over.
This was great.
No, it's not a crash. It's great.
This is better. We were just
No,
talking
this was really
I
good.
just saw Luke was streaming, and it's like I didn't get a chance to talk to him much at Midwestuary.
Yeah, we were trying to elevate the conversation. It was down here. We needed to take it up a notch. So
We're very happy you're here, Nate.
Yeah.
And I never spoke to you before, so I'm really happy to.
Well, yeah, Lucas, I've seen you on other streams. I think this is the first time we've been on the stream together, so it's good to meet you as well.
Pleasure. Yeah. Absolutely. I want to do a US tour one day. Go to the US. I think I'll just come when there's another estuary conference or whatever.
Well, we've got an opportunity coming up in October.
October is too soon, but I think maybe next year, 2 years somewhere, that would be ideal, and I can meet a lot of you guys. That would be a dream of mine.
I think Paul's planning something for Sacramento next February.
Wonderful.
Maybe you can make that one.
Okay, go have a look.
Yeah, like Mark said, this stream started with Speedos and tank tops. So
I think unless Cal, do you have anything you want to add? I can still I can see the wheels still turning in that big old brain.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, no. I mean, I can't. I increasingly just don't try to understand. It's but it's fascinating the way that you put it, and the original paragraph of yours that I had read. I wish I could have some kind of immediate access to it, because it was something that I thought about for a long time. I will also say,
I might be able
yeah,
to dig it.
contemplating these ideas, to me, it's actually, there's no small element of fear that enters in, just in the sense of, you know, I hesitate to imagine what exists beyond myself or beyond what I know and what I understand. And, you know, at the same time, I wonder why I can't surrender control. And, you know, I have a whole kind of philosophy, let's say, that's about how it's good to surrender control. But on the emotional or interpersonal level, do I really trust God
Mm.
to let existence be good? Because if I look back at what I've lived through, I want, part of me wants to say it has not been good, and I don't have trust in existence itself. But if I really attend to what I did experience, I don't know that it wasn't not I don't know that it wasn't good. And in fact, I don't know that without experiencing what I experienced, I could have any conception of the good at all.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
you know, even if I feel what I've experienced is like failing to is deficient and failing to measure up to some kind of conception of goodness, I don't know that I could have that for me, that conception of goodness can exist without reference to the real reality that I experienced. And I'm just in this. I'm not even say resolving the tensions, but letting the tensions be resolved in me.
Right.
And it's just it's a surrendering, you know, surrendering. But I don't even find it in myself consciously to surrender. Some Christ in me is what is able to either allow me to surrender or just to let reality continue
Yeah.
without any conscious affirmation or willing myself into being on my part, which is somehow in my ego what I feel like I need to do. I need to continually will myself into being, otherwise I won't exist. And I keep existing without needing to ontologically depend on myself and my own act of like self-affirmation or something like that.
That's great.
And it's wild, but it also feels like clinical depression. um, and so you know, y'all just pray for me, because I'm in this, and but you know, I'm crucified with Christ. Nevertheless, I live. Yet it is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. The life that I now live, I live by the faith of the Son of God, who loved me and gave Himself for me.
What's that from?
That's like Galatians 2.
I'm just kidding.
So I found if you wanted me to share it, I found the original paragraph.
Oh yeah, do so.
Because I texted it to Jordan Daniel Wood, so I found it in my history there. Okay, so this is from May 27th. Listening to you with gospel simplicity now, a pleasant surprise. I've always liked him. He seems to be very earnest and thoughtful. I left this comment on part of your latest conversation with Derek Holzer. Gollum's riddle about time and the Hobbit suddenly sprang to mind, and this is what came out of it. The question I began to ask was what Jordan would say God and time in light of the incarnation does. Does God in the incarnation become subject to time? This is what process theology seems to hold, or at least Christian versions of it. But as I frame the question, it occurs to me that time and death are actually naming the same things. Time, like death, is the ultimate destroyer. And then I quote the riddle from The Hobbit. All things devour, birds, beasts, trees, flowers, gnaws iron, bites steel, grinds hard stones to meal, slays king, ruins town, and beats high mountain down. So then, to answer my own question, now reframed as I think it through, that the conquest of death by death is also the conquest of time, which, as Jordan points out, is the ultimate answer to Heidegger's thrownness. The fall is the fall.
Yeah.
The fall is the fall into time. Christ's conquest of death by death is also a conquest of time. And then I told them. Then I actually shared your little voice recording that you sent me with him. I said this ended up getting spread around a bit, and Cal, who you met, recorded this, and then I shared it. I said this should be helpful context when we get to talking about Thy Kingdom Come. And then this is what Jordan said. George said, "Yes, Cal is right. My Iswarian translation of the BG notes this exact ambiguity and actually lands on time instead of death. And here's my favorite poem on the theme, one I'm currently committing to memory." And he links he makes a Muir poem. He says, "I'm really looking forward to reading Thy Kingdom Come. I'm nearly finished with Rose's Morning Becomes the Law, and then I'm reading Tomper." And so that was the exchange.
So I think what was in that quotation that maybe arrested me so much was the connection to Heidegger's thrownness. Not that I understand that very well, but the sense of the radical contingency of things that I am in my flesh always grappling with and trying to come to grips with and failing to. That is, the sense of all of the different.
Heidegger links the fall to the fall into time in Being in Time. So I'm actually, the idea that the fall is linked to the fall into time, I'm actually stealing from Heidegger in the first place.
Sure.
So, but here's the thing is, so what Heidegger isn't able to see, probably because he didn't actually have, like, as grounded as he was in kind of Western theology, he had very little access to the theology of the East. It would be interesting to see what would have happened with Heidegger had he had access to it. I'm not sure. But he sees the problem of the fall into time and is reacting to it, but he doesn't see how that Christ's conquest of death by death also is the overcoming of time, and therefore of the problem of thrownness.
Yeah. So that problem of thrownness is, like, for me, I the way I would understand it is, I have a sense not only of how things are, but in having that sense, like, sort of logically or propositionally, I have the sense of the complement space of all of the different ways things could have been. And then I must seek for some explanation of why things are the way they are, this tiny sliver of actuality amidst, a huge haystack of possibility. And I don't find that explanation. And I don't know where I am. It seems almost radically unreal.
Right.
Like, I don't recognize the present state of affairs. It's a kind of, like, almost like a dissociation, or a derealization. And I think that existentialists dealt with that. There's that sense of dislocation, and something is existentially out of joint, but it's going to be put right, in the overcoming of death by death, and has been, and will be.
And our boundedness in time is what blocks us from being able to see how that could be, because
that's right,
our
exactly.
boundedness in linear time, we cannot understand how the way in which our beginning and our end are actually linked together. We can't see that because of our being trapped within linear time.
Yeah, it has to be something.
But I have faith that Christ's conquest of death by death has also overcome that, and that I need to concern myself with that, and that it will be revealed.
Yes, because if it had not done, then you couldn't even exist now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Lucas, what
But
do you
again,
got?
these are not things I claim to understand.
Well, I'm just glad to see you're back. I'm curious. I'm surprised you're even back. It's a blessing to have your presence here. What do you make of the
Oh,
last couple of minutes? Have you
Yeah, you
figured
should
something out?
jump back in.
what a sweet man. I really do appreciate conversations when I leave. Like it's such a great thing. I recommend this to people. Start streams and conversations and then disappear and then just be a watcher because sometimes magical things happen. You guys were talking about things in a way that I think is really great and different than I would talk about it, but yet similar to the way that I would talk
But
about
Luke,
it.
we
It's like,
always talk about the same things in a very different way. That's
no,
just
I know, but like
that applies.
that's the whole like once you know the way broadly, you'll see it in everything, and it's actually connected to covers, and it's actually connected to icons because like we're all talking about the same thing in our own particular ways because it's the Vervaeke thing that he was talking about Midwestuary. It's just the reality is the cup or the thing, and we're just looking at it from all these different angles, and it's really fun. For me, it's really fun, and I think, and I would say, I would be so bold as to say good and true and beautiful to have conversations with people who acknowledge that, because when you're talking to people that acknowledge that you're just looking at these things from all the different angles, call it reality, call it being, call it the Trinity, call it whatever, it's that's iconic knowing. That's what that is. And you're able to have these conversations, which is fantastic, and it makes me feel it's actually infinitely practical, and in that sense it's like applied wisdom and true philosophy and true knowledge, because like even the stuff Cal was talking about, like when you're talking about thrownness and like the disassociation from understanding possibility and where you're at, like what I hear in that is being in the world but not of the world. It's like it's I have this resonance with the world, and through my suffering, when I embrace it, when I accept my thrownness and my suffering and being in this linear time and being in a corporatist churn, hamster wheel life that I'm in, and I have so much tension and struggle with it, but when I just accept it as gift, and this probably gets to the big talk, some of this five giveness and forgiveness and repentance and grace. It's like it's an acknowledgement that I'm trying to distill it all out and I can't. There's a peace that passes understanding, I think, when you accept the gift, which is your own suffering. And when you really see it as a gift, there's a kind of divine magic that happens
Yeah.
where you're okay, as Peter Rollins would say, you're okay not being okay.
Yeah.
Or you
Yeah. Yeah.
have
Can I,
a slight
I
momentary
I want to push back just the tiniest little bit.
Okay.
Hey!
Yeah. Hold on, let me mute myself. Sorry.
And it's just about like the word suffering,
Okay.
because like me, because I don't like. It depends on what you mean by suffering,
Sure.
right? Okay, so it seems like what you're talking about when you're talking about suffering. When I hear you talking about suffering in the way that you just talked about suffering, you just seem to be talking about your experience as a being who is incomplete in a process of becoming, like the inevitable nature of being that sort of being.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a process that's forming you, parts of which are completely, like most of which is completely beyond your control. But the one thing that you do have control over is your response to it, right?
Yeah.
You can receive, you can experience it thrownness, or you can receive it as a gift. Right?
Yes, exactly.
Right. And so you're saying if you just change your orientation to receive it as a gift, then something happens. I agree. But what I would say happens is that actually transforms the suffering so that it is no longer suffering. You will no longer see it as suffering, but you will see it as part of the process that was making you.
Right. And that's very much, I don't know. I think becoming a saint is being able to do that in the moment. of your
Yeah.
suffering, in the event of your suffering. But like,
Yes.
it reminds me of what Jordan Peterson said with like a lot of his clients, where like, if you, most often, I think almost with everyone, I don't know if I want to say with everyone, but for a significant amount of people, when they look back retrospectively at the worst events of their life, they're often the things that are the most valuable to them for what it created in them. Whether it be all these fruits of the spirit, right? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, meekness, faithfulness, self-control. Meekness isn't one of them. I misspoke. But you get my point. So like but all those things require suffering. Like, to become patient, you have to have situations that you don't like, that you want to be over. Like, you don't get patience without that. Long suffering. Like, how do you get long suffering? It's not a trick question, and like getting married, having children, like, often it's a blessing, but a lot of the blessing is that it teaches you that you don't understand what it means to love someone.
Yeah.
Dave wants to come play with us. Should I tell him there was no link? That I just crashed the party because
There's never been a link, David.
There was never a link for this one, Dave. It was actually Luke's stream that he started with Jason and Luke and Cal that I just crashed because it's my StreamYard account and I had the ability to enter the studio, so I just did.
If David goes and puts on a tank and promises me that he's put on a tank top, I would consider letting
There
him
you
in.
go. So if you indicate your willingness to put on a tank top,
send me a picture of yourself in a tank top.
It's getting better and better, guys.
Yeah.
No.
So
one of the things that you said, Luke, that I also wanted to poke at a little bit, not in a bad way, but actually wanted to develop a little bit more. In your little monologue there, you talked about how you don't care about what people call it, and that's
not completely true either. But
okay, but not caring about what people call it is right, because that's the problem that we run into. Is we think, and it's interesting because we started this conversation talking about language, right? We were talking about language and the differences between language and learning other languages, and so we were kind of began the discussion talking about language. But the thing that you are pointing toward is a pattern of being. It's a way of being in the world. It's a mode of existing. It isn't something that you can certainly. There are better and worse ways of pointing at it with words, but no set of words is ever going to be able to completely encompass and capture it. So getting obsessed over what language people are using to talk about it is a good way to lose sight of the mark.
Well, right, and that's connected to what you were talking about earlier with the propositional always being in the past. It can never capture the present or the future. Like it's. Right. And so it's fine. We have to use languages. This is why, get out your Luke bingo. You got to quote the Rob Bell quote: God and everything is about he whom we must never speak, but we must always keep speaking. Right. And if you have an iconic relationship, like I've been going back and forth with Skankenstein about this in Confessions, and he tried to frame it in terms of like center and periphery and fringe. And so he's like, maybe icons are the center and confessions are the fringe. And I'm like, not if they're held to be like propositional limited things, because if you hold to your confessions iconically, they're fine. They cannot be idols. But if you don't hold to your confessions as icons, where they're always allowing for the becoming, they will become idolatrous, and we're going to be dealing with ideologues constantly. That's the problem.
Manuel pushed back on you in a very interesting way in that recent stream, where I don't know if you totally got where he was coming from, but what he was trying to do was he was trying to give you a personalist mode of establishing boundaries by pointing toward the way in which this can be done well through persons. What would you say about that?
I mean,
because you believe in natural authority, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you have to submit and make decisions and choose to do things and operate in the world. And that's the difference between power and authority is like you have to serve somebody, Dylan. You got to submit to something. You have to. It's part of being in the world. And so I agree with that there are going to be natural things that you need to submit to in words and confessions and things. It's inevitable, but I don't.
Well, we've all submitted to you by being on this stream, in a way, right?
Speak
Right.
We're all agreeing to be here on Luke's stream. This is Luke's stream on your channel. And we all are to some degree acknowledging your authority as a person we care to engage with and listen to. That doesn't mean that we are going to agree with everything you say or listen to everything you say, but implicitly we're acknowledging that you have some authority by being here.
Wow. Well, thank you. I feel like Cartman. Submit to my authority. Yeah, but you the problem is that you still have to treat that as an icon. Like when you get married, you're submitting and covenanting yourself, you're drawing the line, as Jason was talking about, to your wife, but yet it's not a static image of her. Like you could write all the things that you understand and know about your wife, and then, but the problem is, like PBK has said forever, is that changes and evolves and grows. Like what is the one thing, Karen Wong, that you've studied so much that you've realized there's no depth to? Your spouse, your children, and you have to relate to things that way or else it becomes an idol. So like, and I think by nature, this gets into like, what is the spirits? This is why when I talk about confessionalism and I quote Tillich and myself about institutions being inherently demonic and confessions being demonic, and why I think it leads to identitarianism is because the spirit of confessionalism is by its nature not iconic.
Well, it tries to say, well, yes, because why does it do? Confessionalism actually tries to remove authority out of the realm of the personal and to put it into law.
Yes.
Right? So you're no longer governed by the authority of spirit, which comes from persons and the interactions of persons, but you're governed by law, which is committed to writing, and everyone's governed by that. Only not really, because ultimately the actual real personal authority that exists will always override whatever the confessions say.
Yes, absolutely. Now David is here, tanked up. I want to hear what he has to say, and I'm leaving again. Love you guys. Bye-bye.
It is
Okay.
respect.
Can you hear me all right? Is that all right? Awesome. So I wanted to connect the notion of suffering and passion. Like in the old sense, passion is something which is done to you, right? So the passion of the Christ just refers to the fact that we beat the crap out of him, not his care. I mean, his care is, I still agree with, but the term passion of the Christ just refers to what is done to you, and suffering is allowing, right? So in your King James Bible, it will say, suffer the little children to come to me, right? Yeah. It's to suffer is to allow, to permit. And I've been trying to, I was kind of jumping in yesterday onto Luke's stream with this idea, and it seemed people weren't getting what I was getting at. But if God creates by laying down a bit of himself, if that's necessary, like in the Jewish idea that like God in his infinitude is unable to create the world, so he has to lay down, yet the lamb must be sacrificed before the foundations of the world in order for the world to even come into existence, then
Dave,
suffering...
just really quick, that's another way of like dealing with the paradox of being and becoming. Because right. Like that's precisely why God has to withdraw, so that there might be a space for becoming.
But the moment you create another being, the moment you create anything that operates separate from you, that is suffering, because you're permitting the thing. It's like it is to suffer, to allow.
Right. So
anything
you're
to
actually
exist besides yourself.
the way you're talking about suffering here, looking at the etymology of suffering in permission, you're kind of linking it to God's let it be.
Yes. Well, and it's not just that. It's making it always, because I was really linking with what you were saying about the notion that it's always, like God is always generative,
Yes.
and so what this means is that he's also always suffering. The notion that the fall causes suffering, I think, is incorrect. He must suffer in order to create the world, and he suffers with us even beforehand. And um, I I think there's a version of that which is a unprofitable suffering that we might call death, right? But that you could suffer even before that. You could have these things without it being bad, and that is deeply redemptive. Could be deeply redemptive to us because we assume that it's always bad, that suffering is bad, and I didn't know how to talk about it yesterday. To just say, yeah, I know this sucks for you, but actually suffering is not bad, right? Like, it's
right. No, that's good. That's good. That's good.
Does that make sense, or does this just
sound it makes total sense.
Maybe a curveball here. Does time suffer? Because if it's time, I'm time, the destroyer of worlds. If that's the quote, would that imply that time does not suffer?
Well, I was wondering about it. In the garden, they have access to the tree of life, so it could be once the fall occurs, maybe time is linked to this kind of this negative form of time.
That would actually, I like that too, because I like that too, Dave, and that's good. That might be a good corrective, because that have you read Paul and Time?
No, I have not, but there's literature where people say that it doesn't actually say that they're immortal in the garden, and that actually their immortality is hinged on them constantly partaking of the tree of life. And so within that mentality, resurrection is even pre-fall.
Well, actually, what I was thinking of, the reason I asked if you'd read Paul and Time is because there's an Anglican theologian who wrote a book called Paul and Time. I read the book, and now the author's name is escaping me. But she posits that Paul has essentially two senses of time, which are in contrast to one another, and that they're lifetime and death time.
Yes.
So that I think when I'm talking about the fall being a fall into time, I'm talking about death time. And that, that time, that kind of time, the death time, is linked to death. Like obviously, that's why it's death time, right? But that there is another time that is lifetime with that, and that is what we're being called into in Christ. So, but until the parousia, the world of death time still persists. Although
these ideas that we're talking about, part of my feeling is that it actually makes the second person of the Trinity necessary for the way that, like, it's not merely this accident that happens in the middle. It's actually something always and necessary for us to exist.
Correct, because if we had only the Father, if we only had pure static being, nothing would ever come to exist. So so any conception of the divine always has to include the possibility of becoming, or nothing.
And I think this is what I think this is even what Luke was saying by him saying he's stepping away from the conversation. Like, what that means is, even for us to have a conversation, I have to shut up. I can't just absorb the whole thing. I have to permit you to talk, even if you're interrupting what I'm saying. And to permit that, to have a conversation, is to suffer you, right? Like, there used to be an expression which is like, he does not suffer fools, right? Like, it means whether or not we can even bear with each other right? And that any amount of bearing with each other is a form of forgiveness. It's is a form of suffering.
That's good.
All right, me and Jason have to head off, both of us, right? You as well,
Yeah.
Jason.
Yeah, I was just leaving a comment.
But please
and
keep it
that-
rolling. I'm gonna try to keep listening in the background because I like what you have to say. David, it's nice to meet you. I've never spoken to you before, but I've been liking your thoughts thus far. I would love to see it keep going on. Nate.
Lucas, I'd like to talk to you at some point. I've recreated one of Emily Verduin Mud Huts things, and I've seen your interview with her. It is very good.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. Let's talk. That's good.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah, it'd be good.
Nate
Okay.
or Luke, whoever, if he hears this, I didn't know if you could later share the link with Lucas. Lucas actually orchestrated this whole thing and set it up, even though Luke started the stream. So in case you wanted to download it later, would be cool.
Thanks, Jason.
You're
All right.
welcome. But yeah, I gotta go do yard work, so
All right.
get out of here. Bye.
See you
Sorry,
guys. Good luck. I'll be listening.
Yeah, I'll see you guys. I mean, I'm down to hang around.
Hang around, Cal, please.
Hang around.
Yeah, because I have to walk the dog, but I know David just got in, and David is someone I've sort of watched for a long time. I'm very interested in
Cal, do you pick up your dog's poop or do you just run away real fast?
I mean,
Which type of human are you?
There's a third option.
Normally, I'm the former, but when I discover that we don't have any bags, then I'm the latter.
Okay, you enjoy. I'll be listening. See you.
Of course.
You, me, and Cal. What you got?
I got to take the dog out, but I know that. Yeah, let me just listen to you guys. I'm gonna be on, but listening.
All right.
I can't be on for too much longer. But Nate, one of my great regrets is that I didn't get to talk to you more at Midwestuary. And I didn't realize that your wife was your wife when she introduced herself to me.
Okay.
Because I've only seen her on like a couple of streams. So she introduced herself, I introduced myself, but she didn't say, "Oh, I'm Nate's husband." So I didn't know if this person knew anything about me or if I knew anything about her. And so I didn't get a real chance to talk to her either.
Yeah, my wife's super friendly, so.
Yes, she was.
Yeah.
My wife had a wonderful time at Midwestuary, and I've been talking for a real long time about how wholesome the whole thing was. It was just felt really, really wholesome.
So my wife has been on the periphery for a long time. I mean, obviously, I'm very involved. Very involved. And she's gone to. This isn't the first time I've taken her to a conference with me. She did go to Chino with me, and then she obviously was a part of Northwestuary by default, right? So this is her third conference.
Nice.
And she's going to be coming. She's going to be coming with me to North Carolina in October for Southeastuary as well. And but this time it's like she's in a place now where she feels like a part of it too.
Oh, that's good.
Right. So this is no longer just this thing her husband does. She feels very much connected and a part of it now too. And she's actually talked. We've been discussing it, and she's actually exploring the possibility of opening up a second Olympia estuary group in a different space that might be able to draw from a different demographic, different set of people.
That's good. So, that's very good.
She's very much has a sense of like of she's in it now. after Chicago.
That's good.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, we had such a good time. I did not know exactly how it was going to go, and it went very well.
What was your favorite part of Chicago?
Her or mine?
No, yours. What was it? Or your wife's, either one.
I mean, I was so excited to see people in the flesh. I'm a hugger as well, so attacking people with hugs was quite a privilege. Um, yeah, and there was an energy to conversations that was very different than online stuff. Um,
How would you
yeah,
describe
and
that
there
difference?
there was a couple of times where when we first showed up, there was a smattering of people. Like I came early to the barbecue, and as we were there, there's just people that my wife like immediately connects with, and it's unpredictable to me. Like we'll be around a couple of people, and she'll be having all right conversations, and then there were certain people that she just really was just like, I understand this person. And that was also great because they were my friends independently. And
Mm,
then I wasn't trying to facilitate that. I'd like step away for a second and like um she just like loved talking to Trey and loved talking to Skankenstein, Matt. Um and that's just like a real delight, like to be able to share something with someone where you see the greatness of someone and then someone else does too. It's like the opposite of if someone introduces you and they're just like, "This is the funniest person I know," and then you're like, "This person's not that funny. I don't know what you're talking about," right? It's really great when someone else sees it in someone.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you immediately went to like that. I in my experience too, like those are always the most memorable parts of conferences. Do not happen in any of the planned conference activities.
Well, it's interesting too because I've been for some of the previous conferences, I knew that the lectures were going up or the speeches were going up, and so I was just like, yeah, it's whatever. Like I'll watch them, you know. And so the excitement was actually specifically to meet people, right? Um, and that was very good. And I got to talk to Jonathan Pajot because this image was inspired by me carving his image of everything, right?
Okay.
Because his in his like he has several circles that when I carved it, I made it into levels on. I'm sure I've shown it to you, but here, there's my version.
Okay.
If you get close, you can see that it's like different levels for these
Okay.
circles that are like in his just circles.
Gotcha.
And so while I was creating that, I had the idea of making this, which is the creation, but each one is a different level, right?
Okay.
Uh, and so it was great to just talk to him about it. So I kind of cornered him at one point and showed him pictures of what I was working on, and yeah, to be able to have that conversation, I enjoyed more than his his what he had to say, which I think was a great um, encapsulation of what he's been working on for the last 8 years.
Yeah, it's interesting. I what's your sense of that? Because his introduction, he said he kind of set himself up to be perceived as not having done much because he kind of like in introducing what he was going to say by saying that I'm going to go to the edges of what I've been trying to talk about. I think that like he put expectations like really high, and then I think he succeeded, but I think the general
Mhm.
perception of most people I talk to is I don't think most people were able to see where he was going beyond what he's done before. And I want to hear whether you think he succeeded in going beyond where he's gone before, and specifically where you would point to. Because I certainly have my own idea as to where he was pushing the envelope.
I think that so I saw it twice as it happened because I saw it through my own eyes and through my wife's.
Okay.
And my wife has never listened to him before.
Okay.
So I certainly felt that it was a building and a moving, but I also felt that it was actually an excellent introduction to him. And it was my wife understands a lot of like she understands the great chain of being, if you know what that is. She understands the great chain of being and has like studied Shakespeare extensively, which those plays are all about, like have the great chain of being so integral to it. So she was really able to follow what he was saying, I think, because partially because of that. But also I think that there was great clarity in what he was saying. But there was also it was probably the best balance of thinky talky and illustration, where it seemed to come together and make a ton of sense. And there was, I don't know, he just seemed comfortable. He was making it sound like he didn't fully have himself planned out also. And I think that that's almost impossible because it seemed, I don't know, it just, maybe it was just being there, but it seemed like the planets aligned.
Okay. So where do you think he was, where specifically in that presentation do you think he was pushing himself compared to what he's done in the past? What would you point at?
I don't know. I think it might be that he actually, it seemed much more systematic. That it was actually much more concrete than he normally is.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go back. I might have to go back and listen to it again. But I will say that I had this impression that he was very subtly pushing back at the idea of creation ex nihilo in a way
pushing back at the idea of what?
Creation ex nihilo in a way that was somewhat radical, and that's why he felt like he was on the edge. And he never said it like explicitly in a doctrinal or propositional kind of way, but there are implications from certain things he said that would draw someone who knows a lot of theology to realize that he's subtly pushing back against the doctrine of creation ex nihilo in a way that to me was very reminiscent of George MacDonald.
Yep.
Because George MacDonald has that line in Lilith, yes, we are created from nothing but God's glory. Right?
Yeah.
So
I understand exactly what you're connecting with.
Yeah, and so that's where I saw he was like, that was the part that I think, that's where I think he saw himself as pushing the boundaries, because he is on the edge of what's acceptable to articulate in theology.
Right. But it's interesting because a lot of people are now even noting a lot of that stuff because of Tohu Vabohu.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
In the beginning, when God went to create the heavens and the earth was void and formless. Wait, what?
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
It already was before he started creating?
Right.
What are we talking about?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But see, you're the kind of person who's you're like, I mean, you're an Orthodox Christian, but you have an openness in your approach to speculative theology that not everyone has. So not everyone is going to react to something that is on the boundaries of theology.
That's
why I think he also he did, and also I think to his credit, I think he did a masterful job in giving a discussion that was both for people who have listened to him carefully and have enough background knowledge to see where he actually was, in fact, delivering on his promise to push at the edges of what he can articulate.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, and
I actually think, from my perception, he actually did accomplish that, but at the same time, he was able to give a talk that was someone who never heard him before was still able to connect and understand. So that's.
I think I'm going to want to revisit it as well, because that would make what you were saying right now about pushing against creation ex nihilo. That also explains why he really, really emphasizes that chaos is good.
Yes.
Chaos is not the same thing as evil. And the positivities of that other aspect would be very important if those things exist before.
Yeah.
And why he emphasized its nature in God itself. Okay, I have to get running. I have to go to both a Ren Fair and a Fall
No,
Festival.
well, that was pretty. That was a worthwhile little exchange, though. So,
Thanks,
take
Nate.
care. Take care, Dave.
Okay, see you.
All right.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, Cal. I'm gonna head out. Unless you got something you want to say to end the stream here. You're muted.
I was trying to chime in when I was walking the dog, just because I got so interested in what you guys were talking about. Were you talking about Vervaeke?
No.
Who was it? Pajot. Okay. So we're talking about like pushing back against creation ex nihilo, and David bringing his knowledge of the Hebrew and understanding the way that the kind of the Bereshit part of Genesis is like a when. It's like introducing a subordinate clause, like when God began creating, and so on, and so I mean, wow. I mean, I just got interested because there was something that Craig and I had been talking about, like in order to understand Kant's thought and the relationship between what like what is a priori and what is a posteriori, and the way that if you're gonna have, like, I mean, if we're gonna just take the paradigmatic act of creation ex nihilo, which is totally free. God is free not to create, and then he chooses to create. There's this weird paradox with God of like everything he does is simultaneously totally free and yet totally necessary. Are you tracking with me so far? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. And so, like, okay, so he's gonna create the world. Does he have a reason for that? Like, or is it completely spontaneous in the sense of random or acausal? Well, it's like he has a reason. But what's the reason for the reason? And so any attempt to make up the causal gap or the lack of determinacy in this explanation is going to make creation necessary. And there was a certain way in discussing Kant with my friend Craig that it seemed to me for a moment that I could not really find the principled way of saying something was a posteriori or contingent, without ultimately presupposing like this kind of a priori element of necessitation in it. And so then there's going to be the way that the Christian equivalent to this is the eternal generation of the Son, and the way in which, I mean, yeah, incarnation is, or rather creation, which is incarnation, for Maximus, at least according to Dr. Wood. There's going to be a way in which the creation is sort of like already but not yet. It is created, but when it's genuinely new, but it's also seen in retrospect to have been necessary and in that sense eternal. So things are always becoming eternal, and it is a little bit like predestination in the sense of like you walk through the door and it says, on the lintel entering the door, it says, whosoever will may come. But when you pass through it and you turn around and look at the lintel from behind, it says predestined from all eternity. So it's a weird kind of, perhaps it's the time like the meta time, or the time like grammar of creation, but that it
Yeah.
because it straddles both time and eternity. There's no non-contradictory way to express it in a static way,
Right.
but dynamically it can unfold and be a sort of like what Langen called the self-resolving paradox. But yeah, no, I mean, those are just some thoughts that came into my head when you guys were talking about that. But again, it's I missed the chance to talk to David because he brings his knowledge of Hebrew to topics in a way that is very and of Judaism in a way that I think can be very enlightening.
Yeah.
Because I think he also retains the sense of Christ as Messiah. So I think that we who have that sense very often don't have a sufficient understanding of Hebrew and of Judaism. Post Jesus Judaism. Anyway, no, that's what I wanted to talk about. But
I just
anyway,
wanted to clarify one thing here really quick. So, Penn, no, at no time did Pajot ever push back on the doctrine of ex nihilo in any kind of dogmatic way. What I'm saying is that there are corollaries that follow from things that he said in his talk that would lead one to question the doctrine of creation ex nihilo. So I don't want to make it seem as if Pajot was directly questioning creation ex nihilo, because he was not. All right. Looks like Cal has had his final words and has gone back to walking the dog. So I'm going to go ahead and end the stream, y'all. Have a great day. Bye-bye.